Beneath the shroud of night, the mountains and valleys stood starkly visible, illuminated by an eerie glow. Amid the unsettling quiet, a horde of hundreds surged upward, sprinting with desperate urgency toward a single figure. All eyes fixed on one man, the heavenly demon. Suspended between earth and sky, radiating a power so vast it bent the very air around him, the heavenly demon observed the frenzied masses charging toward him, their weapons glinting with grim intent. "Is blood and terror truly all you seek?" His voice echoed, calm yet laced with disdain. The attackers lunged as one, a tidal wave of rage and steel, but the heavenly demon, unmoving, raised a single hand, palm outward. A mere moment passed, and then, with devastating ease, the countless lives converging on him were obliterated in a single, crushing blow. Without stepping from his place, the demon reduced the ground to a sanguine ruin, the moon above taking on a crimson hue as if reflecting the carnage below. To shield himself from the cascading blood, he conjured a shimmering barrier, his voice dripping with contempt. "So weak, so pitiful, is this the best you can muster?" A vortex of energy spiraled to life in his palms, a manifestation of his overwhelming strength. As the survivors rallied, launching what they believed to be their final, desperate assault, the heavenly demon dismissed them with a devastating sweep, leaving a storm of blood in his wake. "Behold," he declared, his voice carrying over the battlefield, "the true might of the soul-augmenting demonic art." The earth itself seemed to shudder under his immense power, the distant onlookers frozen in dread as the valleys below bore witness to his wrath. Suddenly, the ground split open, and a colossal, ghastly hand emerged, leveling everything in its reach as it surged toward the few remaining soldiers. Many fled in terror, while others stood paralyzed, unable to defy their fear. The hand descended with merciless finality, crushing all beneath it, leaving the battlefield littered with mangled corpses and shattered earth. Among the carnage, a half-crushed soldier whispered in despair, "It's truly hopeless." As the monstrous hand retreated, it left behind a grim tableau of bodies and rubble. The pile of corpses, gripped by the hand, radiated an ominous energy that floated skyward, while the heavenly demon stood amidst the blood-soaked desolation. He gazed silently at the destruction he had wrought, his expression shifting to a dark, self-satisfied smirk. Were they the last of the so-called heavenly demon challengers? He mused aloud. For a moment, the stillness was absolute, a silence broken only by the faint drip of blood. "Perhaps peace is an impossibility for me," he reflected, his voice tinged with weary acceptance. Then, without warning, the heavenly demon doubled over, clutching his chest as a wave of excruciating pain racked his body. Blood spewed from his lips, and above him, an ominous, cloud-like figure took shape, a shadowy specter of malevolence. "Has it begun?" he thought, the grim realization dawning upon him. The recoil of the soul-augmenting demonic art, the cost of consuming countless souls, had finally come. "I believed I could surpass this, even though none before me could." Even as blood spilled from his body, the demon grinned bitterly. "I suppose I was arrogant." Suddenly, countless glowing eyes emerged from the rubble, the souls of those he had slain, glaring at him with an unforgiving intensity. From these vengeful spirits emerged chains of pulsating, purple energy, snaking toward him with inescapable precision. The chains bound him completely, his legs, arms, neck, and torso shackled with unyielding force. Helpless, he stood ensnared by the wrath of his victims, blood dripping from his lips as he muttered, "So, you intend to drag me to hell?" A defiant grin crossed his face even in this moment, his will refusing to break. Yet rage surged within him, his energy flaring with such intensity that he shattered the bindings in an explosive burst of power. "Who dares to bind me?" he roared, only for a radiant sphere of energy to materialize before him, a core of unfathomable might. Staring at it, his vision dimming, he realized with shock that his body had been pierced through, a gaping hole in his stomach signaling his end. As his form began to disintegrate, the truth of the soul-augmenting demonic art dawned upon him. It wasn't merely a technique to consume souls, it demanded his own in return. Smiling faintly, the heavenly demon, on the brink of death, thought to himself, if he had another chance he would live a peaceful, nice life. Under the bright daylight of a tranquil estate, a cluster of stately buildings stands in serene harmony. In a courtyard, a pond ripples softly, its surface alive with the movements of colorful fish. Sitting beside it, a boy watches them intently, his expression calm yet distant. From a short distance away, a voice calls out to him. The speaker is Sue, a maidservant in the mansion of the Golden Wall merchants. She approaches briskly, addressing the boy with a hint of exasperation. "You're here again. Please come eat before your meal turns cold." Taesan, the boy in question and the second son of the Golden Wall merchants, responds with a peculiar gesture, mimicking a sword strike towards Sue. Startled, she frowns and scolds him, "You've been acting strangely for days now. Go to your room." As Sue's frustrated words hang in the air, Taesan looks at his hand, his thoughts laced with bitterness. To think I can't even sever that slender neck. What a pitiful, fragile body. His gaze shifts to the pond, where his reflection reveals not just his current visage but a faint glimpse of his past, the face of the heavenly demon. I can't get used to this appearance. It looks so delicate, almost feminine, he muses. Nearby, a table is laden with a tempting array of dishes, their aromas tantalizing. Aching from head to toe, Taesan attempts to lift a spoonful of rice but finds even that task a challenge. This body is worse than useless, he mutters under his breath. Sue, gently pouring him tea, reassures him with optimism. "Don't say that, you'll recover soon. I've heard an exceptional physician is coming this time." Taesan, unimpressed, replies coldly, "What can some unknown doctor possibly achieve?" Her persistence undeterred, Sue urges him to adopt a more positive outlook, though Taesan offers no reply, merely listening in silence. Nearly 10 days have passed since Taesan awakened in this frail, skeletal body. The sprawling estate of the Golden Wall merchants is his new reality, and his identity is now tied to the son of one of the most powerful merchant groups in Wuhan. When Taesan first woke, he could barely comprehend his surroundings. Sitting up weakly in bed, clutching his head, the memories of his former life as the heavenly demon came flooding back. A servant's voice had broken the haze, asking, "Sir, are you awake?" The boy whose body he now inhabited was utterly helpless, unable to dress himself or even eat without assistance. Though his face was unervingly beautiful, his physical state was grim. Worse still, his meridians were severed, leaving him on the brink of death. "Even in a second life, I awaken in a body fated to die," he thought bitterly. Determined to survive, Taesan resolved to use the soul-augmenting demonic art to temporarily reconnect his meridians, reinforcing them gradually until they healed. But this plan posed a critical dilemma: he needed souls to fuel the technique. In his previous life, as the heavenly demon, obtaining souls had been simple, kill and claim. However, doing so now would bring the same disastrous consequences that led to his demise. As he sat in quiet contemplation, watching Sue sweep the courtyard, a faint smile touched his lips. "I won't squander this second chance," he vowed. The realization he had made in his final moments as the heavenly demon offered hope. If used differently, the soul-augmenting demonic art could reach heights no demon before him had ever achieved. Interrupting his thoughts, Taesan called out to Sue, her name catching her off guard. She turned to him, surprised. "I want to go out today," he announced, his tone resolute. "Really?" she asked, astonished but willing. "Where would you like to go? I'll take you anywhere." Taesan's response was as unexpected as his decision to leave. "To a courtesan's house," he declared, leaving Sue momentarily speechless. In the gentle afternoon light, Sue, the servant girl, cheerfully remarked, "Oh, a courtesan's house. That's wonderful." Her enthusiasm was short-lived as realization dawned on her, her face turning a deep shade of crimson. "A courtesan's house? Where did that come from?" she exclaimed, her voice a mix of embarrassment and shock. Taesan, unbothered, asked calmly, "Why are you so surprised?" Stammering, Sue suggested, "I think it would be better if Kyungwon went with you instead of me." Her flustered demeanor didn't faze Taesan, who maintained his stoic expression. When Sue, still blushing, nervously added, "You've never acted this way before." "It really caught me off guard," Taesan replied plainly, "Come with me, then." Her embarrassment only deepened as she quickly declined, "No, thank you." With that, Taesan stood and walked away, leaving Sue alone with her swirling thoughts. As evening fell, Taesan emerged, dressed impeccably in fine robes. Sue, adjusting the final touches to his attire, stole glances at him, her thoughts running wild. He's been acting like a completely different person these past few days. And now, he suddenly wants to visit a courtesan's house. Did something happen to him? Taesan, oblivious to her musings, glanced around and asked, "Where is Kyungwon? He was supposed to join me." Sue, smoothing his collar, reassured him, "He'll arrive on time. He's always training and looking out for you." Taesan, slightly exasperated, remained silent as Sue continued, her tone softening. I hope you won't be too hard on yourself, sir. It feels like you've given up on everything. Maybe try to hold on until the physician arrives. Her sincerity struck Taesan, and he thought, after all this time, I can finally sense the genuine care others have for me. For the first time in ages, he allowed a small, kind smile to form. This feeling, it's not so bad, he mused. Suddenly, Taesan's gaze shifted toward the door. He's here, he said quietly. Sue blinked in surprise. What? How did you know? She asked as a knock echoed through the room. The door opened to reveal a pair of strong, steady legs and a commanding presence. Entering was Kyung-won, the sword dragon, a warrior of the Golden Wall Merchants' elite corps. Bowing respectfully, he said, It's been some time since you summoned me, sir. Taesan studied him, noting the man's aura of honed energy. This man is like a blade, he thought. The Golden Wall Merchants are more formidable than I had imagined. Shortly after, the two were on horseback, riding through the streets as the city lights began to flicker. Kyung-won eventually halted, announcing, We've arrived, sir. Taesan surveyed the scene, his sharp gaze taking in the fragrant flower house, one of Wuhan's top 3 courtesan establishments. The grand building radiated an aura of allure and elegance. After the horses were stabled, Kyung-won informed Taesan, I'll wait for you outside. Taesan paused and turned, his expression unreadable. Why? He asked flatly. Kyung-won hesitated. Pardon, sir? Taesan's voice turned colder. Why would you wait outside? Kyung-won began to explain, in case something happens, but Taesan cut him off. And if something did, are you confident you could reach me in time? His sharp tone left Kyung-won speechless. Stepping closer, Taesan rested a hand on Kyung-won's shoulder, his presence exuding an overwhelming pressure that spoke of death itself. It's simple, he said, his voice calm yet commanding. Stay close, enjoy yourself if you can. But if you can't do that, at least protect me properly. Kyung-won, frozen by the intensity of Taesan's words, bowed deeply. Yes, sir, he replied. Inside the fragrant flower house, Taesan and Kyung-won were greeted lavishly. A group of stunning women approached, each more enchanting than the last, their delicate gestures inviting and graceful. Taesan, unfazed by the attention, observed the opulent surroundings. Soon, they were seated for dinner, sharing the space with courtesans who played instruments and engaged in lively conversation. Among them, a girl strummed a mesmerizing melody on her instrument, captivating everyone present. As Taesan sipped his drink, he glanced around and asked casually, Where's Kyung-won? A courtesan leaned in and replied, He's at the staircase, blocking the way. He doesn't seem willing to join us. Taesan sighed faintly, noting that Kyung-won's sense of duty kept him on guard even here. This is as close as he'll get, Taesan thought, his sharp eyes returning to the festivities as the hauntingly beautiful melody continued to echo through the room. Taesan thought to himself how stubborn and inflexible Kyung-won was as another courtesan poured him a drink. Holding the glass, he turned to the group and said, Drink as much as you like. I can't handle liquor now since I'm not feeling well. A girl sitting beside him pouted playfully. You can't drink? What shall we do, then? She teased, leaning closer. Ignoring her advances, Taesan, his face weary from weakness, made an unusual request. I want to hear all the rumors about me, he said. The girls looked at him, puzzled. What rumors? One asked. Taesan clarified, Tell me everything you know about the second son of the Golden Wall Merchants. I want to hear it all. The girls exchanged surprised glances but complied, taking turns recounting what they knew. Time passed, and as evening transitioned into the vibrant nightlife, Taesan learned many details. The second son of the Golden Wall Merchants, it seemed, had a modest inheritance, 1,000 gold yangs, a small manor, and a few additional properties. Due to his frail health, he held little power or influence, while most of the family's wealth and authority had been allocated to his elder brother. The rumors about the elder son were widespread, with everyone in Wuhan seemingly aware of his prowess. As Taesan listened, he thought to himself how this was information he never would have uncovered if he had stayed confined at home. When he had heard enough, he stood abruptly. All right, enough chatter. Let's get started, he announced, rising from the table. The girls around him stared in surprise as he walked toward the door, pausing to survey them with sharp eyes. After a few moments, he pointed to one. "You'll do," he said flatly, leaving the others either blushing or gaping in shock. The chosen girl hesitated, her face a mixture of astonishment and nervousness, but she followed him into the room. Inside, the other courtesans began to gossip. "He came back, but why did he pick just one?" one asked with a giggle. They laughed quietly, some teasing, "He's so weak, it probably won't amount to much anyway." Another girl sighed wistfully. "But he's so handsome, I'd love to go next." Outside the room, Kyungwon overheard their chatter, his face reddening slightly with embarrassment. The light-hearted atmosphere was abruptly shattered by a loud, piercing scream from Taesan's room. The sound was so intense that it left the girl stunned, blushing furiously. The screams continued, not of pain but of unmistakable pleasure, echoing through the halls. Kyungwon, along with the other customers and courtesans in the tower, found himself flustered as the relentless cries filled the air. The soundproofing enchantment, it seemed, had failed. The girls whispered in awe, some finding the noises impressive. "What's going on in there?" one murmured, her face a mix of curiosity and envy. The screams carried on, leaving everyone from every floor of the tower either blushing, confused, or intrigued. Inside the room, Taesan stood behind the girl, extracting something from her body and soul. She clung to the bedsheets, her face flushed as she continued to cry out. Taesan's expression was calm, focused, as though performing a deliberate ritual. As the night deepened, the tower's lights shimmered under the starlit sky. Finally, the door to Taesan's room opened, and he stepped out, radiating energy and vitality. Kyungwon approached hesitantly, his face uncertain. "Are you all right, sir?" he asked. Taesan smiled brightly, his tone filled with confidence. "I feel fantastic," he replied, his revitalized energy practically tangible. Behind him, the girl's hand could be seen clutching the bed frame. As Taesan descended the stairs, the other courtesans swarmed into his room, calling out the name of the girl who had been with him. Inside, they found her transformed, radiating beauty. Her complexion glowed, her eyelashes seemed longer, and her very presence felt ethereal. The courtesans crowded around her, exclaiming in amazement. "What happened? Did he give you an elixir or some magical potion?" they asked excitedly. The girl, her voice dazed yet serene, replied, "I can't remember clearly. But, my entire body feels light, as if I've been reborn." Her radiant beauty left the others speechless, their faces a mix of envy and awe as the mysterious energy of the night lingered in the air. Morning had arrived at the Golden Wall Merchant Estate, Taesan's home. A servant girl swept the courtyard, her movements punctuated by deep breaths, worry etched on her face as she fretted over the possibility that Taesan might have collapsed during his visit to the courtesan's house. Suddenly, the estate gates creaked open, startling her. She turned swiftly, her eyes widening in surprise as she recognized Taesan approaching with his bodyguard. Calling his name excitedly, she rushed to greet him, her expression shifting to concern as she asked if he truly visited the courtesan's house and whether he was all right. Taesan, indifferent, merely glanced at Kyungwon and replied, "If you're curious, ask him." Kyungwon's face flushed with embarrassment as he coughed awkwardly, attempting to mask his discomfort. Confused, the servant girl glanced between them, unable to piece together the situation, as Taesan continued on toward his room. Hesitating briefly, she thought to herself, "He seems fine, but is he really?" Inside Taesan's room, an extraordinary sight unfolded. Wisps of energy, shimmering purplish and bluish hues, radiated throughout the space, emanating from his desk, chair, and even the air itself. At the center of it all, Taesan sat cross-legged in a meditative pose, focusing intently as the energy swirled around him. Over time, he opened his eyes, breaking his concentration to examine his arm, which was enveloped in purple energy interlaced with green lines. Reflecting inwardly, he acknowledged that he had managed to connect only a single small meridian. The realization struck him, his knowledge of the soul-augmenting demonic arts from his previous life was incomplete. He recalled the devastating side effects of absorbing souls through force, the accumulation of unstable energy that would eventually destroy his body, as it had before. The essence of the art, he understood now, lay in purifying the chaotic thoughts within living souls and absorbing only their refined energy. This pure essence, drawn from those with strong, deeply rooted emotions, was the most potent form of soul energy. Night descended once again, and the fragrant flower house glowed with its signature aura of allure. The return of Taesan, now a daily occurrence for 10 days straight, sparked a flurry of gossip among the courtesans. Many had doubted he would come back so soon, given his supposed frailty. "Are you sure it's not just a rumor?" some questioned, while others giggled excitedly. "He's not only the son of a reputable family but also incredibly handsome. Spending one night with him makes you prettier. I wonder when it will be my turn." Faces blushed as they whispered about him, calling him a man among men. Taesan entered the tower like a king returning to his domain, surrounded by the most beautiful women and shadowed by his loyal bodyguard. As they walked, a few jealous eyes watched from the corners, displeased with his presence. Someone remarked mockingly, "Looking good again today. Have you already chosen your companion?" The voice belonged to the madam of the house, who observed Taesan with a mix of intrigue and annoyance. Internally, she grumbled, "This man is here again." Her assistants murmured suggestions to reinforce the soundproofing enchantments, but the madam dismissed them with a sigh. "We've tried multiple times, it never works. Every time he comes, all the courtesans flock to him, and the enchantments fail. Our customers are unhappy, he's become our biggest problem." The madam's thoughts grew darker as she speculated aloud. "Isn't it odd? Someone supposedly on the brink of death is suddenly behaving like this. And why does he come here instead of the courtesan house owned by the Golden Wall merchants?" One of her subordinates, Phantom Shadow, offered to investigate the Golden Wall merchants, but she refused. "They're the most powerful merchants in Wuhan. If we act recklessly, it could lead to disaster. Just keep an eye on him, discreetly. I need to know what's happening in that room." Meanwhile, Taesan, flanked by radiant courtesans, surveyed their energy with sharp precision. To him, their auras glowed vividly, pulsing with potential. Halting abruptly, he pondered to himself, "Tonight, I'll take on a new challenge." Determined, he stepped forward, his path set amidst a sea of beauty and intrigue. He asked the attendant to gather all the women, stating that he wanted to see each one of them. The most sought-after courtesans were lined up at the front, and the servant confidently remarked, "These are the most popular ones here. Surely, the others won't catch your interest." But Taesan scanned the room intently, his gaze finally drawn to a dark and ominous energy emanating from a corner. Ignoring the murmurs of confusion from the others, he approached the source, a dull-looking girl enveloped by a foreboding aura. "I'll decide who catches my eye," Taesan declared firmly. The popular girls watched in disbelief, thinking, "Why is he going there? Is someone like her really in the fragrant flower house?" As Taesan stood before the girl, he asked her name. She replied softly, "I am Dan Young." Taesan smiled, declaring, "You're all I need tonight." Taesan, unfazed by their reactions, led Dan Young to his room, with Kyungwon trailing behind. As they approached the door, Taesan paused, his sharp senses detecting something amiss. He smiled faintly and muttered, "Look at these lunatics." Suddenly, he called for his bodyguard, who quickly stepped forward. Taesan borrowed Kyungwon's sword, unsheathing it with a swift motion before hurling it at the ceiling with immense force. The blade embedded itself halfway into the roof, and blood began dripping from the steel, confirming it had struck something or someone. Kyungwon's expression turned grave as he realized, an assassin. Taesan, disappointed by the situation, remarked, "Still alive? Looks like I'm not as precise as I thought." Blood trickled onto the floor as Dan Young trembled in fear, her face pale and her body rigid. Taesan reassured Kyungwon, "Handle the rest for me. I have something more important to address." Kyungwon nodded, and Taesan turned to the frightened Dan Young with a sinister smirk. "Prepare yourself. Tonight, I'm going to absorb every ounce of your soul's energy." Meanwhile, across town, at Yun Manor, a woman sat reading at a grand table with her bodyguard nearby. The guard mentioned that Taesan had been spotted at the courtesan's house yet again. The woman, Taesan's fiancée, Yun, inquired with curiosity, "What do people call Taesan these days?" After some hesitation, Kyungwon replied, "They're calling him the Night King of the Fragrant Flower House, renowned for his unparalleled potency." The words made Yun snap her book shut in frustration. Tears welled in her eyes as she exclaimed, "Take me there immediately. I need to meet him." The next morning, Taesan emerged from his room, exuding an intense, radiant energy. His bodyguard bowed and informed him that it was time to return home. Kyungwon hesitated as he observed Taesan, now emanating an otherworldly aura. When Taesan asked about the assassin, Kyungwon replied that he had imprisoned the intruder. "Good," Taesan remarked before adding, "I need rest. Let's head back." As they walked beneath the pink cherry blossoms in the courtyard, Kyungwon reflected on the profound changes in Taesan. Is this really the same young master I once knew? His energy, his demeanor, everything has changed. He's sharp, skilled, and exudes a confidence I've never seen before. Taesan, now deep in thought, mused over his progress. He had successfully connected one of his core meridians, significantly improving his physical state and senses. Though he still had 6 core meridians left to open, the transformation was undeniable. For the first time, he felt satisfaction from such a minor achievement, something he never appreciated in his previous life. Smiling faintly, he thought, I've changed far more than I realized. His contemplation was interrupted when he sensed something ahead. Raising his gaze, he saw a stunning woman approaching, his fiancée, Yun, accompanied by her bodyguard. Taesan noticed a woman who had been staring at him ever since she arrived. Curious, he asked, who is that woman? Why has she been watching me so intently? Taesan had no memory of her, unaware that in this life, he had already been with her. As someone casually asked Kyungwon if Taesan had visited the courtesan's house again, Taesan wondered to himself, does she know my bodyguard? When did Kyungwon start building such connections? The woman then turned to Taesan, her face blushing with embarrassment. Are you behaving this way because you're dissatisfied with our engagement? Are you trying to push me away? She asked. Taesan, taken aback, was stunned at the mention of an engagement. Trembling slightly, he thought, engagement? I've never been with her to begin with. The woman continued, her voice trembling with emotion. Even if this is intentional, I won't give up on you, she said, stepping closer and holding his hands. Her teary eyes locked onto his as she pleaded softly, please don't give up on me, okay? Taesan looked at her pitiable expression, unsure of what to make of the situation. He replied, that's not what I've done. Surprised, she asked for clarification, and Taesan added, I've never given up on you. Her face lit up with joy as she smiled, blushing deeply. You're finally acknowledging my feelings, she said, placing her hand over her heart. She seemed to interpret his words as she wished, which made Taesan slightly uneasy. As Taesan walked past her, he muttered, I'll be leaving now, while she stood frozen, watching him go. She softly murmured his name, her face still flushed with happiness. Taesan thought to himself, I can't believe a woman has managed to fluster me, the former heavenly demon. She's a formidable opponent indeed. Noticing Kyungwon standing far ahead, Taesan observed his bodyguard's blushing face and wondered, what's going on with him now? By evening, Taesan was preparing for a bath. A servant girl poured hot water into the tub, casually mentioning, I heard you met the lady on your way back home. Taesan, confused, asked, how do you know that? She replied with a proud smile, I have eyes and ears all over Wuhan. Chuckling, Taesan realized she must have been the one who informed his fiancée of his whereabouts. She then asked, by the way, is your bodyguard Kyungwon okay? Taesan, puzzled, replied, why wouldn't he be? Is he unwell? The servant girl smirked and explained, he has feelings for the lady, your fiancée. He's always admired her for as long as I can remember. Taesan suddenly understood why Kyungwon had acted strangely earlier and thought to himself, so that's why he stepped in front without informing me. He sighed, thinking of his previous life, where fear and respect defined his relationships. But now, something had changed. Smiling faintly, Taesan realized, perhaps it's because my soul is now mixed with the previous owner of this body. These little things no longer anger me. Instead, they're intriguing. Later, Taesan arrived at a wooden and stone hut, the prison used by the Golden Wall merchants. Torches lit the dim space as Kyungwon informed him, I've sealed his pressure points, but this assassin is ruthless. He'd kill without hesitation. Taesan smirked, his eyes glinting with satisfaction. That's perfect, he said. Open the door. As the gate creaked open, Taesan stepped in and thought, good. Negative energy is pouring off him. Assassins harbor the darkest thoughts, which means their soul energy is potent. I can extract a lot from this one. With his core meridian newly connected, Taesan decided to attempt something new. He instructed Kyungwon to stay outside, causing visible distress in his bodyguard. But this man is dangerous. What are you planning to do alone? Kyungwon protested. Taesan replied calmly, even if I told you, what could you do? You didn't even notice his presence earlier. Kyungwon, flustered, argued, that was different. It's too risky for you to face him alone. Taesan's gaze sharpened as he firmly stated, I won't repeat myself. Sweating nervously, Kyungwon relented. Understood, he muttered, backing out of the room as beads of sweat formed on his forehead. Taesan shut the door behind him, sealing himself inside with the dangerous assassin, a faint smile playing on his lips as he prepared to begin. In the courtyard outside the prison, Kyungwon stood guard, his thoughts unsettled. Just now, I couldn't breathe again because of the immense pressure he exerted, he thought, his face showing deep distress. It felt like I was facing a true martial master. Suddenly, agonized screams echoed from within the prison. Startled, Kyungwon gripped his blade, his stance tense. What is that sound? Could it be? Another scream pierced the air, followed by yet another, each one louder and more haunting. Kyungwon's mind raced. That's not the young master's voice. What on earth is happening in there? Inside the prison, Taesan was extracting and refining the soul of the assassin, pulling it from his body with precision. The screams originated as Taesan drew the corrupted soul out, its dark energy resisting violently. But this process proved more treacherous than Taesan had anticipated. The soul was overwhelmingly polluted, making control difficult. Taesan gasped for air, his focus slipping as black smoke began emanating from his hands. Purifying soul energy leaves only the pure essence, he thought. But when the soul is too tainted, the impure energy merges. This is dangerous. For now, I'll have to rely more on the courtesan's house. Meanwhile, at the fragrant flower house, the madam paced anxiously, biting her nails. It's been 2 days since Taesan captured the phantom shadow. Still no word, she demanded. A servant replied nervously, No, madam, nothing yet. Their conversation was interrupted when a panicked voice called out, Madam. You need to come outside right now. Alarmed, the madam rushed out, only to find the phantom shadow, but something was terribly wrong. The assassin was cloaked in black energy, his once sharp pupils now pale and lifeless. He stumbled forward, mumbling incoherently. What is going on? The madam muttered, ordering her servants to strike his pressure points. The servants obeyed, but as they applied pressure, the assassin's skin and flesh turned into a watery substance, sliding off his bones. Their horrified expressions mirrored the madam's as they whispered in disbelief, What is this? Before them stood nothing but a skeleton, surrounded by a puddle of flesh. Furious, the madam declared, the second young master of the Golden Wall merchants. Is this your idea of a game? Her anger simmered as she turned to her servants. Where is Dan Young right now? She demanded, referring to the plain-looking girl whose soul Taesan had previously extracted. The servant hesitated before replying, She's being prepared to send to the Crimson Dragon sect leader. The madam's expression darkened. No, she commanded. Cancel her visit. We'll send her to Taesan instead. Shocked, the servant protested, but if the Crimson Dragon sect finds out, they'll destroy everything. That man is merciless. The madam simply replied coldly, I'm aware. That's why I said to cancel it. The fragrant flower house will send a gift to Taesan. The narrative shifted back to the fragrant flower house, where rumors about Taesan began spreading like wildfire. Whispers claimed that spending a night with him could transform a woman's beauty, making her appear reborn. Some even believed Taesan was a deity who had reversed his aging, while others accused him of practicing dark sorcery. Initially dismissed as baseless gossip, the rumors gained credibility as more women confirmed their transformations. Among them was the woman whose soul Taesan had once refined. Now radiantly beautiful, she confessed, I wish to serve Taesan. Whether he's truly divine or something else entirely, I cannot resist. The madam, overhearing this, laughed sharply. Serve Taesan? Have you fallen for him? She mocked. When the woman offered no response, the madam continued, Did he promise to pay off your debts and claim you for himself? The woman shook her head. He didn't say anything like that, she replied. The madam's eyes narrowed as she sneered, whatever he said, it doesn't matter. You belong to the fragrant flower house until your debts are paid. Obey me and prepare for your visit to the Crimson Dragon sect leader. That exchange, however, was in the past. Returning to the present, the same woman now stood outside the Golden Wall merchant's mansion, Taesan's home. Her heart pounded as she clutched her chest. I was supposed to be sent to the Crimson Dragon sect, but instead, I ended up here. Is this my fate? She wondered. Despite her nervousness, she resolved to meet him. What if he finds me filthy? Even so, I want to see him again, she thought. Her mind made up, she approached the ominous aura emanating from Taesan's room. Inside, Taesan sat cross-legged, deep in meditation. His body radiated intense soul energy as he worked to connect his meridians. A soft green light glowed around him, his unwavering focus evident in his closed eyes. Taesan's transformation was ongoing, the room filled with a powerful, foreboding energy as he continued his efforts. Taesan, still in his meditative stance, suddenly sensed something unusual. Opening his eyes with a composed expression, he focused intently in the direction of the disturbance. Before he could act further, a knock came at his door, followed by the voice of his servant girl. "Young master, you have a visitor," she announced. Surprised, Taesan instructed her to let the guest in. As the door opened, the beautiful Danong entered, her face a mixture of nervousness and anxiety. Taesan immediately recognized her and observed her subtle changes. With a pounding heart, Danong greeted him, pouring her emotions into her words. "I wish to serve you, and so I have come to visit," she said earnestly, her voice trembling slightly. The heartfelt declaration caused the servant girl to blush as she noticed Danong's enhanced beauty. Danong continued, "This life you have granted me, I wish to dedicate it to you. I hope you will allow me to stay by your side," she confessed, her face flushed with both determination and vulnerability. Taesan, silently observing her, noted her transformation and pondered if the purification of her thoughts had altered her appearance. Intrigued, he asked the servant girl, "Where do you sleep?" The girl, startled by the unexpected question, hesitated. "Me, I stay in the pavilion with the other servants," she replied. Taesan contemplated briefly before giving her an order, "Find another place." "She will stay near me," he instructed, gesturing toward Danong. The servant girl, flustered and taken aback, stammered, "Pardon? Will the lady be working as a servant?" Taesan, slightly puzzled by the question, asked in return, "What else would she do?" The servant girl, now in a dilemma, lowered her head in deference. As Taesan prepared to leave, he casually said, "Take care of her," and exited the room. The servant girl, left with the beautiful yet out-of-place Danong, fretted inwardly. She's far too pretty for servant work. What should I assign her to do? And why is the young master behaving like this lately? Could it be, he doesn't have much time left? Her thoughts spiraled into imaginative worries as she watched Danong. Meanwhile, the bustling streets of Wuhan came alive as Taesan made his way to the Fallen Flower House, one of the city's top courtesan establishments. Reading its name, Taesan smirked slyly. "Fallen Flowers. I like the sound of that," he mused, his grin taking on a mischievous edge. With his signature air of confidence, he thought to himself, "I'm looking forward to this. The corrupted soul energy from these places should prove useful." He announced to his bodyguard, "For now, I'll be frequenting the Fallen Flower House." Kyungwon obediently replied, "Understood, sir." However, as they neared the courtesan house, a loud voice interrupted them. "Hey, you there, Golden Wall merchant's young master." The group turned to see a burly man flanked by two lackeys, his presence commanding immediate attention. His arrival caused the crowd to scatter in fear, murmuring, "It's the Crimson Dragon sect leader. Don't get involved, or he'll destroy everything." Taesan glanced at the man, unimpressed, and asked his bodyguard, "Who's the musclehead?" Kyungwon replied, "He's the Crimson Dragon sect leader. They're an unorthodox group that operates in this region." Taesan scoffed, thinking, "Unorthodox group? Aren't they just a gang of glorified bandits? Parasites pretending to have prestige." The sect leader sneered at Taesan, his tone condescending. "So, you're the one who took Danong from me? A mere brat dares meddle in my affairs?" His lackeys jeered alongside him, but Taesan ignored them entirely, instructing his guard to do the same. The blatant disregard enraged the lackeys. "This punk must have a death wish," one shouted. Even the sect leader seemed taken aback by Taesan's audacity. "Are you ignoring me?" he barked, his tone dripping with mockery. "You're nothing but a pretty-faced gigolo." The insult struck a nerve with Taesan, and he halted mid-step. Radiating a menacing aura, he slowly turned toward the sect leader. The very air seemed to darken as the shadow of the heavenly demon loomed behind him. "Gigolo?" Taesan repeated, his voice cold and venomous. "I already despise this face of mine, and you dare to mock me further?" His rage bubbled beneath the surface as he glared at the laughing sect leader. The man, oblivious to the danger, continued his taunts. "What's the matter? Scared already? You look like a helpless animal." Taesan's patience snapped, and his aura surged. He turned to his bodyguard. "Handle everyone except the sect leader. Leave him to me," he ordered. Kyungwon, unsheathing his blade, squared off against the lackeys, who rushed forward with cocky grins. "Let's see how tough you are," they shouted. Meanwhile, the sect leader laughed mockingly. "You hire a bodyguard to act tough? If you want to live, hand Danom over to me, and I'll let this slide." Taesan's gaze turned icy as he exhaled sharply. "Not a chance," he said, his tone cutting like a blade. His eyes bore into the sect leader. "You talk too much. Do you fight with that big mouth of yours?" The words struck a nerve, enraging the sect leader. The air around them grew tense as the confrontation reached its breaking point. "What did you just say, you little?" the Crimson Dragon sect leader growled, charging toward Taesan with his fist raised. "It seems you're eager to die today," he bellowed, vowing, "I'll ruin that gigolo-looking face of yours." As the man lunged, we see Kyungwon, Taesan's bodyguard, having already subdued the sect leader's lackeys. However, noticing the attack, Kyungwon panicked, his voice trembling as he shouted, "Sir, please get out of the way." Taesan, calm and unbothered, made a small, almost dismissive motion with his wrist. The simple gesture carried such immense force that the Crimson Dragon sect leader was blown back, his punch rendered entirely ineffective. Blood spilled from his mouth as he collapsed at Taesan's feet, stunned and defeated. Taesan had not even clenched a fist, he had used only the palm of his hand. Observing his opponent's demise, Taesan thought to himself, "I held back to ensure this frail body of mine could handle it. This body is truly pathetic." Kyungwon, shaken but alert, called out, "Are you all right, sir?" Taesan glanced at him, his expression neutral as he asked, "Have you finished off the rest?" Kyungwon, lowering his gaze, admitted, "No, sir. I didn't kill them." Taesan chuckled dryly. "You're too soft," he remarked, then commanded, "Finish them off and follow me." Sweating nervously, Kyungwon replied, "Yes, sir." Taesan continued, his tone firm. "If anyone asks who killed the Crimson Dragon sect leader, tell them it was you. I have no interest in being dragged into bothersome disputes." Standing over the lifeless body of the sect leader, Kyungwon nodded, though his mind raced. How did he kill the Crimson Dragon sect leader with just his bare hands, and in a single strike? Who on earth is he wondered, haunted by the memory of that power. "I caught that assassin by chance, but this is beyond comprehension." The scene shifted to morning. Taesan awoke, staring at his hand with a dissatisfied expression. "My body is in poor condition," he reflected. "I've already used up half the energy I managed to accumulate." As he turned, we caught a glimpse of a woman sleeping beside him, wrapped in a blanket. Unlike when I was the heavenly demon, this body breaks down too easily. Even the smallest exertion leaves it damaged, he mused, frowning. "I know I was reckless, but as the heavenly demon, I can't tolerate being called a gigolo." Later, Taesan entered a room alongside Kyungwon. Spotting Lady Danon serving tea to a female bodyguard, Taesan asked curiously, "Why is Lady Yun's bodyguard here?" The female bodyguard, sensing Taesan's presence, turned her sharp gaze toward him. Her piercing eyes, filled with intensity, she greeted him, her composure calm yet commanding, while Lady Danon quietly passed by. Taesan, unmoved, remarked, "I doubt you're here just for tea. What brings you?" Once the door shut, sealing them in privacy, the female bodyguard spoke. "The servant I saw earlier, did you bring her here from the courtesan's house?" Taesan's mind wandered briefly before replying. Strictly speaking, she came on her own, but I don't feel like explaining all that. Instead, he said nonchalantly, what if I did? Kyungwon, startled by the blunt response, asked hesitantly, did you really bring her from the courtesan's house? However, the female bodyguard's keen eyes had already noticed something else, Taesan's partially open robe, revealing his bare chest. She asked pointedly, have you just returned from the courtesan? Taesan answered with his characteristic bluntness, yes. The female bodyguard bowed deeply, her head nearly touching her knees. Taesan, puzzled by the gesture, thought, what's with her? Meanwhile, Kyungwon, flustered and blushing, could barely contain himself. The female bodyguard, lost in her thoughts, considered how this revelation might affect Taesan's engagement to her lady. Taesan, still stoic, stood silently as Kyungwon trembled beside him, overwhelmed by the emotions swirling around them. The female bodyguard elaborated to Taesan that someone had sent a marriage proposal to his fiancée, and because it came from the prestigious Shunli clan of the Miram Alliance, the Y Manor Master, cornered by the situation, decided to break off the engagement. However, she clarified that the decision wasn't final, as she vehemently opposed the idea. She hesitated, looking like she had more to say, but Taesan interrupted, surmising that it must be difficult for her to continue resisting under such circumstances. I doubt you're here just to inform me of this, he added, asking if the manor had sent her out of concern that the Zhengli clan might harm him. She confirmed this, explaining that Haren had specifically ordered her to protect him. As she began explaining more about the Zhengli clan, Taesan cut her off, calling them vile bastards. She frowned, warning him not to speak so openly, but he simply smirked, commenting that the Zhengli clan had abandoned the other clans and fled during the war against the Heavenly Demon, yet still lived so despicably. Pushing his chair back, he remarked, in any case, since you're here to protect me, I'm curious to see what you can do. The scene shifted to that night as they walked through the forest. Taesan commented, almost to himself, that he had finally found someone worth challenging and that he might be able to connect the second meridian tonight. Yu trailed behind him, glaring at his back, while Kyungwon stole nervous glances at her, and Taesan, clearly annoyed, remarked, you don't have to follow me if you don't want to. Yu immediately replied, that's not it. This is the least I can do. Taesan shrugged. Do as you please, he said. Suddenly, Taesan stopped walking, causing Kyungwon and Yu to freeze in confusion. Kyungwon asked, what's wrong? Taesan glanced into the darkness and asked, how many are there? Kyungwon, puzzled, tried to sense the surroundings and soon noticed 3 figures hiding in the trees behind them. He quickly informed Taesan, who corrected him, no, there are 4. The one you missed must be pretty skilled. Moments later, 3 men jumped down to confront them, one of them saying, I guess an ambush won't work anymore. The 4th figure revealed himself and spoke with surprising politeness, demanding that the 3 of them come with him immediately. Taesan wondered why these unorthodox thugs were acting so courteous and smirked as he turned to Kyungwon. Let's guess how strong this guy is, he said. Kyungwon assessed the man, noting the faint scent of blood in his energy and concluding that he was no ordinary fighter, at least 3 levels above himself. Taesan grinned, nudging Kyungwon forward. Go find out if your guess is right. As Kyungwon stepped forward, the 3 men in front of him suddenly froze, their bodies stiff and unresponsive. They looked at one another in alarm, unable to comprehend what was happening. Kyungwon walked calmly between them, not needing to lift a finger. The 4th man laughed mockingly. You think you can take me on alone? Your energy is impressive, but stop acting tough and come quietly. The man launched an attack that Kyungwon barely dodged, the blade grazing his hair. As the attacker prepared a finishing blow, Kyungwon caught his sword, unsheathing his own blade to parry the strike, which pushed the man back. Without hesitation, Kyungwon advanced, and the 2 began trading blows. After 4 fierce exchanges, the man admitted he had underestimated Kyungwon, surprised by his skill despite being just a merchant's bodyguard. Tightening his grip on his weapon, the man leapt into the air for a decisive strike. Yu, growing anxious, urged Taesan to intervene. Taesan, unimpressed, replied, it's not so bad. It'll be over with this next move. Yu glanced back, just in time to witness a brilliant slash sever the attacker's arm, sending it flying through the air. The man screamed in agony as Kyungwon stood victorious. Yu was astounded, marveling that it had taken Kyungwon only 5 clashes to defeat such a formidable opponent. Taesan, however, was annoyed. He should have killed him outright instead of just taking his arm, he muttered. Yu, still stunned, remarked that Kyungwon's recent prowess was unusual, suspecting that Taesan might have given him some kind of elixir. Taesan dismissed her thoughts, snapping, "Stop standing around, deal with the others. Don't kill them, just block their pressure points. I have questions for them." Yu obeyed immediately, unsheathing her blade and dashing forward with precision. Her strikes landed flawlessly, paralyzing one man with a blow to the back of his neck and another with a hit under his armpit. She paused, scanning the area for the final assailant. Suddenly, Kyungwon shouted, "Taesan, get back!" Yu quickly realizes the assassin slipped past her, and as she turns in panic, all she can do is watch helplessly as the man lunges toward Taesan, aiming to stab him directly in the throat. At the last moment, Kyungwon intervenes, grabbing the assassin's head and slamming him into the dirt. Taesan, startled, questions what Kyungwon is doing, then glances back to where Kyungwon had come from, deducing that he had chosen to save him instead of pursuing the escaping assassin. Taesan mutters that Kyungwon is far too soft. Kyungwon apologizes for letting the assassin get away, but Taesan, while initially critical, reflects and remarks that if he were still the heavenly demon, such a failure would have been unforgivable, and he would have killed Kyungwon on the spot. However, with a surprising smile, he sighs and tells Kyungwon to forget it, instructing him instead to gather the captured assassins in one place. Once the three subdued assassins are assembled, Taesan asks what they should do with them. As the men lie on the ground, Taesan suggests that killing them would be the simplest solution. One of the assassins immediately starts pleading for his life, promising to answer all of Taesan's questions. Taesan observes the man, wondering why he is so eager to betray his allies, and sarcastically says that since no one's talking, he'll just kill them all. The desperate man begins spilling everything, revealing that they are from the Crimson Dragon sect and were acting under the orders of the vice sect leader. He explains how, earlier that morning, they assaulted someone who refused to pay protection fees and vandalized his inn when he wouldn't serve them. The man rambles on, betraying more details as his companions glare at him, silently wishing he would shut up. Eventually, Taesan cuts him off, saying he's heard enough. The man cautiously opens his eyes, realizing with relief that Taesan walking away means they might survive. Taesan tells Yu and Kyungwon to keep the assassins alive as long as they remain cooperative and to bring them along when they leave. Yu, baffled, questions where Taesan is going, especially after all that just happened, and expresses disbelief when he heads toward a courtesan house. At the Fallen Flower House, muffled moaning is heard from inside, though Yu knows full well it's likely screams. Sitting outside the door in awkward silence, Kyungwon avoids eye contact, turning his head away as Yu glances at him. She comments on the absurdity of the situation, asking if he's sure this is fine, but Kyungwon insists they just need to wait until morning. Yu studies his uneasy reaction, wondering if this is always how things play out. Meanwhile, the muffled noises from inside continue. Inside the courtesan house, the three captured assassins are tied up, staring blankly at the ceiling, looking pitiful. Time passes, and as sunlight streams through a window, Taesan emerges from the room. He pauses, surprised to see everyone still waiting for him. Noticing the assassins are alive, he questions why they weren't dealt with, reminding them that his instructions were to spare them only if they kept talking. He mutters that it would have been more amusing if they had been left in the room with him. Yu silently thinks Taesan is a beast, while the captured men see him as an unstoppable hero. Kyungwon reports that the assassins have been very talkative and provides a summary of their confessions. He explains that their orders were to capture Taesan and bring him to the Crimson Dragon sect. As for the identity of the escaped assassin, Kyungwon reveals its information only the Crimson Dragon sect leader knows. Taesan reflects on the escaped assassin, noting that the man was far from an ordinary martial artist and would have been a challenge for any typical bodyguard. Kyungwon's unexpected strength had likely thrown their enemies off guard. Taesan reasons that it would be too obvious for the Zhengli clan to be directly involved in this. Deciding to return to the estate first, he orders Kyungwon to bring the captives along, and Kyungwon replies obediently, "Yes, sir." Back at the estate, Taesan places his hands on a door, pushing it open as he announces his plan to cast restrictions on the captured men. Turning to Yu and Kyungwon, he tells them to pay close attention because he's about to teach them some useful martial arts. Both are stunned by this unexpected opportunity to learn from him. Taesan begins by introducing a simple restriction technique, emphasizing the importance of mastering control over their inner energy. He explains it step by step, leaving you and Kyungwon impressed. Though unfamiliar with this particular technique, they quickly grasp the fundamentals, marveling at its intricacy. Taesan approaches one of the captives, placing his hand on the back of the man's neck. He warns him that this will be done lightly but sternly adds that disobedience will result in blindness. The man panics, attempting to protest, but before he can finish, Taesan activates the restriction. The technique leaves the captive trembling on the floor, utterly shaken. Turning to Yoo and Kyungwon, Taesan instructs them to try applying restrictions to the remaining two captives. Yoo finds herself wondering how Taesan knows such techniques and why Kyungwon is so willing to follow his every order. With a mischievous grin, Taesan suggests they create a restriction ensuring the captive's testicles will explode if they betray his commands. The men immediately break into terrified protests, their eyes watering as they scream, "Hell no!" Yoo and Kyungwon watch the humorous scene unfold, with Yoo internally hoping the comic relief trio stays alive a while longer. At the same time, the scene shifts to a pavilion where a man named Won, Taesan's uncle, sits at a table reading a note. The message indicates that the fragrant flower house still hasn't acknowledged their involvement in recent events. Speaking to his son, Baek Sangil, the future master of the pavilion, Wong states that persistent pressure will eventually expose a vulnerability. He dismisses the note, remarking that regardless of their acknowledgement, the situation should be exploited to secure greater benefits for the Golden Wall merchants. He points out that the fragrant flower house, while outwardly a courtesan house, is actually an intelligence network, and now is the time to bring them under the merchant's control. Sangil agrees to handle it and awaits further orders. Wong asks if there's any other news. Sangil replies that with the death of the Crimson Dragon sect leader, a power struggle has emerged within the sect, and it appears they're on the brink of splitting into two factions. He adds that external forces seem to be influencing the turmoil. Wong listens intently, understanding that the situation could provide new opportunities for their goals. Sangil cautiously asks his father if he thinks they might be involved without explicitly naming anyone. Wong, however, doesn't hold back and confidently states that it's most likely the Golden Heavenly Alliance. He advises Sangil to keep a close watch. The Golden Heavenly Alliance, a coalition of merchants in Wuhan, outwardly claims to promote coexistence but is secretly plotting against the Golden Wall merchants. Wuhan speculates on what they might be scheming, and Sangil promises that if they notice any suspicious activities, they'll act immediately. An awkward silence falls between them for a moment before Wuhan clears his throat and changes the subject, mentioning that he's heard people calling Taesan the Night King lately. He asks Sangil if he knows of any medicines or special foods Taesan has been using to improve his health. Sangil shakes his head, explaining that Taesan has exceptional stamina, but it comes at the cost of his health, and no one knows when he might collapse. Despite this, Taesan pours all his energy into his goals, even though it's bound to shorten his life. Wong pauses, acknowledges this grim truth, and then unexpectedly admits, with a hint of envy, that he finds Taesan's determination admirable. Later in the day, Sue is startled, demanding to know what's going on as she stares at the three captured men. Taesan explains that she mentioned needing extra labor, so he brought some. She's skeptical, saying they look peculiar, but Taesan dismisses her concerns, telling her she doesn't have to use them if she doesn't want to. She also notes that Taesan seems to have become strangely considerate lately. Taesan, ignoring her remarks, raises his hand and starts naming them, Black 1, Black 2, and Black 3, collectively calling them the Blacks. The men, initially stunned, immediately drop to their knees in gratitude, emphatically agreeing and declaring their love for the new names. Taesan, clearly pleased with himself, walks away cheerfully, telling Sue that those are their names now and she can use them however she pleases. Sue tries to call after him, but he interrupts to ask where Kyungwon is, saying he hasn't seen him. She informs him that Kyungwon is training, prompting Taesan to grumble about how Kyungwon spends his life in endless, solitary dedication. At the training hall, Kyungwon is hard at work. He recalls Taesan's fight against the Crimson Dragon sect leader, marveling at how Taesan had defeated him with a simple, light strike to the chin. Kyungwon, awed, tries to replicate the technique, muttering that he's never seen martial arts like it before. He reflects on how he has no regrets about joining the Sword Dragon Corps, whose motto is to assist the Golden Wall merchants in times of crisis and be handsomely rewarded in return. Despite his loyalty, Kyungwon admits he feels anxious. However, everything changed when he first saw Taesan standing behind the others during a training session. In that moment, Kyungwon felt certain that Taesan would help him reach new heights. His thoughts are interrupted when Taesan appears, asking how long he plans to keep training. Startled, Kyungwon didn't expect Taesan to be there. Taesan tells him they need to head to the courtesan house soon, but Kyungwon hesitates and asks if he can pose a quick question first. Taesan agrees, curious, and Kyungwon asks whether Taesan plans to continue hiding. Taesan pauses, confused, and asks what he means by hiding. Kyungwon explains that after everything, the assassin, the Crimson Dragon sect leader, and now the restriction technique, he's certain there's more to Taesan than meets the eye. Taesan begins to internally panic, realizing that Kyungwon might have figured out his true identity. He curses himself for underestimating Kyungwon, whom he'd thought of as a mere musclehead. As much as he has grown to like Kyungwon, Taesan wonders if he has no other option but to kill him right then and there to protect his secret that he is, in fact, the Heavenly Demon. Taesan wonders what to do and if he has no choice but to kill Kyungwon. To his surprise, he gets on his knees and starts begging, wanting help. This shocks Taesan as he is unable to figure out just what is happening in front of him. Kyungwon explains that he heard that people with severed meridians are geniuses. Since Taesan has severed meridians, he wonders if he can take in him as disciple. Hearing this, Taesan doesn't know what to say since he was expecting something else. Taesan thinks that Kyungwon is probably thinking that he is a martial master who is hiding his martial capabilities. Kyungwon tells Taesan that he wants to get stronger and seek revenge. Our boy tells him to explain, and he elaborates that he wants to kill the ones that destroyed his sect. Hearing this, Taesan tells him to not let revenge become the motivation for his actions. Hearing this, Kyungwon is confused since he expected a different answer. Taesan with a stern face tells him that there are countless people who lost their sects, and he is just one of the many. Hearing this answer, Taesan remains silent, unable to come up with answer. Taesan, looking the other way, tells him that those who use their personal emotions as motivation don't last long. So people just end up falling off and disappearing eventually when their feelings subside. So like some saint, he advises Kyungwon to have the pure desire to become stronger. Hearing this, Kyungwon quiet for some time since he is at a loss of words, as Taesan turns around telling him that if he does as he said, he will be able to take revenge whenever he wants. Kyungwon puts his hands together and decides to follow his orders. At night, as they walk under the moonlit bridge, Taesan notices bodyguard Yu and tells Kyungwon to stop acting clueless person and talk to her. Since Kyungwon tries to play dumb, he tells him not to feign ignorance. As for bodyguard Yu, she sighs, thinking to herself that she cannot believe that they are following the same routine every day, unable to comprehend what the young miss sees in someone like him. All of a sudden, the smell of blood surrounds the air. Kyungwon tells Taesan that he is unable to smell anything. Hearing this, Taesan tells him that he is dumb, that he can only sense with his nose. Taesan figure out that the one following them is the one who lost his arm earlier, and funny enough, he can sense another presence which he brought along. Taesan informs Kyungwon that there are two of them, so he orders him to kill one of them first. Hearing this, he instantly disappears following his orders. Bodyguard Yu is useless, so she is unable to sense anything until a sharp weapon passes through her, but a hand grabs it. Taesan easily grabs the hidden weapons and tells Yu that if she keeps standing around on days, she will surely die. Hearing this, she is shocked because she is unable to comprehend just what is happening in front of her eyes. Since she is dumb, Taesan help her out and point the location of that assassin, reminding her to get her act together and do her best. Moving on to the cripple, he gets excited, ready to attack our boy. Bodyguard Yu managed to block his fierce attack. As she stares at him with intent, he tells her that she is weaker than the one she fought previously. Hearing this, she gets irritated and loses her calm, while she really is dumb. As she charged towards him like a barbarian, he set her into a trap as an explosion surrounds her. Using this opportunity, he charges towards Taesan, ready to end him. You figured out that he created an opening from the start, and at this rate he will get killed by this turd. Moving on to the turd, he charges towards Taesan, thinking that he managed to stab him as the sword moves right through him. Instead of getting scared, Taesan starts laughing, telling him that at times like them he can easily tell who the inexperienced one right away. The turd realized that instead of stabbing him, his sword was caught by Taesan. Before he can take any more screen time, Taesan uses a simple karate chop aimed towards his neck. in an instant he drops to his knees vomiting a pool of blood. Bodyguard Yu is shocked to see just what is happening in front of him. She is unable to believe that Taesan managed to defeat him in one strike. Taesan tells her to stop going into a daze while fighting. As she apologizes for her mistake, Taesan tells her to take the fainted assassin along since they will find something on him. Checking on the body, Officer Yu figures out that he died instantly, but she cannot fathom since all he was just strike the guy with his hand. She stares at him. She thinks that she has met someone who will change her life. She thinks that she will have to find out what technique he used. Under the moonlit sky deep in the forest, as Taesan and Yu walk through the forest, Taesan tells her that based on her performance she is too weak to protect him. She doesn't have a reply, so Taesan wants her to train together with Kyungwon from now on. She wonders if Taesan will accept her as his disciple, thinking about Kyungwon and that she has forgotten something major. She tells Warrior Yu that he will take care of himself. Since she is shocked, he says that she can go and fetch him if she likes. Moving on to Kyungwon, he has neutralized the enemy as he sighs deeply, thinking that the opponent was tougher than he expected. As he sheathes his sword, he is still happy that he managed to defeat him quickly. As he stands still, he checks once again to confirm that there is not a single presence of any humans around. Then he wonders where the other two of his employees went. We now move on to the Joseo Pavilion of the Golden Wall Merchant Guild's intelligence. The mini-leader tells his father that Taesan and his group even bought corpses to a courtesan's house. Now many people are aware of this house. Since his plan was to absorb the fragrant flower house quietly, but now it's gotten very complicated. Since there was no traces left on the corpses, so they couldn't figure out their identity. In addition to that, the Crimson Dragon sect said that they has no choice but to take on the request to go after young Master Taesan. Little Leader elaborates that they are feigning ignorance and deny that they know the identity of their client. Old Man explains to him that it is probably because they can't admit that they were trying to avenge their sect leader who was killed, but they cannot remain unresolved. Since there are too many eyes on this right now, so at this rate it will negatively impact the reputation of the Golden Wall Merchant Guild. Then he moved to Taesan and says his son that he has gotten more healthier than ever. Hearing this, his son is amazed and asks his father how he has become this healthy, even after using so much vitality. So he wonders if he is using elixirs or something. Since Old Man had no answer, he tells him that they will have to wait and see. Moving on to Taesan, he is having lunch with all the minions he has gathered from his endeavors. Taesan asks Kyungwon why they are not eating. In response, he says how they can eat together. Taesan, with a chilled-out expression, tells him that it's natural since they are his people. As he eats dumpling, he says that from now onwards they will all gather for every meal. All while the new minions agree since they cannot do anything about it. Taesan's maid informs him that today the Divine Physician will arrive today. Taesan asks him who this person is, and she explains that he is the famous physician who can even fix severed meridians. Taesan says that he can recover just from going to the courtesan houses. Hearing this, everyone present gets shy. She asks him how this is possible. It's not like he can recover yang energy by stealing yin energy. Taesan asks her when exactly that new turd is coming. She says that he should be here in no time. He says if he is in He Golden Wall Manor, but according to her he got a separate accommodation. Currently he is out in the mountains to take a better look of the place he will be staying. According to this femboy, the Golden Merchant Guild is a grand name. As they continue to have their meal, Taesan picks up a dumpling and tells the minions that he heard what was going on. He laughs and tells them that Black One has been of much help recently. Hearing this, Blacky One is happy and tells Taesan that it's not much and all he did was watch over the storage. Then he moves to Black 2 and 3, telling them to work harder. In an instant he agrees to him. Blacky One tells our boy that he had recently become more handsome. Hearing this, Taesan make a skeptical look, so Blacky explains that it not mindless flattery. In the recent days he has grown taller and more muscular, even his skin has become smoother than before. Hearing all this mindless flattery, Taesan asks him to shut up or else he will put a restriction on him. Hearing this, he starts sweating and say that he will put a boulder on top of his mouth. Taesan thinks to himself that unlike before he doesn't as pale as before, so his condition has gotten a lot better, so he thinks it probably because of the soul-augmenting demonic art. Whatever the reason may be, Taesan thinks that all he has to do is gather more souls. One day he will recover completely. Moving on to the main gate, the turd physician has arrived with his lackeys. The head steward greets him and tells him that it is an honor that he is here. This turd pretends to be cool, telling him that it is simply fate. the reason I am calling him a turd is because he is not as nice as he looks. He says that he wants to meet the patient right away as the steward agrees. He thinks that he is younger than he here, so he probably consumed some elixir. As they roam around the manor, he thinks that the manor is truly impressive. The steward brags that the manor master put a lot of effort into making it. It is one of the top pavilion even within the Golden Wall Manor. That's when he looks around and notices Dan Young. Without having any hesitation, he asks the steward who Dan Young is. The steward explains that she's the second young master servant, and she came from a pretty famous courtesan house in Wuhan, and one of the very few people who came here requesting to serve him. With his keen eyes, he looks around and asks him if those women are the same. The steward agrees and tells him that the new servant have recently asked to serve the young master. The turd acts shady, telling him that all of them possesses extremely rare body conditions, so much that he wants them for himself. The steward gets shocked hearing this and thinks to himself that what he is saying makes him very lustful. The steward laughs and tells him that he understands him since they are very beautiful. The turd tells him that he is referring to their pure physical form. That's the name his master gave to such constitutions. He thinks that their bodies are like pure snow, and they can bloom incredibly no matter what they learn. The steward apologizes for the misunderstanding. The turd says that it's alright and asks him if he can take them in as his disciples. Hearing this, he gets shocked, not knowing what to say to him. The turd with an evil look says that if he allows this, he will never forget this favor. The turd thinks to himself that no matter how beautiful they might be, they would be an idiot to refuse him, since they will not want to lose an opportunity to build a relationship with him. In addition to that, he has a bunch of famous physicians following high around. As he sits with Taesan, he without any hesitation rejects him. As Taesan acts carefree, not giving a damn to his proposal, turd with a nervous look, he says that our boy should give this more thought, which will be a good opportunity for his servants. Taesan smirks, telling him that he has 10 disciples but he wants to take on 4 more, so he is very greedy. The turd explains that the physicians who came with him aren't his disciples, they are just helping him with his work. Taesan tells him that it's clearly not the case, since the old minions were following him around. They are either his disciples or subordinates. Funny enough, he looks older than he pretends to be. The twig remains silent and then hold the teapot, telling Taesan that an opportunity to learn his medicine technique doesn't come by often. Taesan says that to him they are good material. Hearing this, the turd thinks that our boy crossed through line this time. He says that he was just trying to help and not used any humans as materials. Taesan says that his medical skill are not required. Taesan says that what he meant was that they are just good material. The turd thinks that he has crossed the line too much and thinks of killing Taesan, and tell everyone that he died during the procedure of treating his severed meridians. Before he could finish his dumb thoughts, a droplet of water aimed towards him at fast speed shock him. A strong attack rips the hat from his head, scaring him. Taesan says that with his trash martial art he is being too hopeful. Taesan thinks that killing him here would be ideal. The turd cannot believe what is happening as Taesan is excluding an horrific killing intent. He had previously experienced such bloodlust before. Taesan says that he doesn't like that people summon try to take what belongs to him. So he holds his finger and tells turd that he wants to live a quiet life. The turd is turned into a retard, not knowing what to do. He dealt with this fear before, as Taesan tells him that he needs someone to handle his troublesome affairs. The turd starts shivering, thinking that he shouldn't have come here. In the evening, the steward is shocked to learn that the W physicians wants to work in the Golden Wall Manor. He says that all he needs to do is work for Master Taesan. The steward, bowing his head, says that it's a great decision and swear on the manor's name that they will not be disappointed by their offer. He says that it is fine since he trusts Taesan. Seeing this behavior from him, his minions don't know what is wrong with him. The turd wanted to live a free life for long, but now it's all messed up, because treating Taesan would take 2 months and require a few months with everything he has mobilized. The thing that shocked was not ordinary bloodlust, and the most fortunate thing is that he didn't wet his pants. Moving to Kyungwon, he asks Taesan if it is really alright. Not knowing what he is saying, our boy asks him what he means by this. Kyungwon elaborates that he has already placed restriction on all the 12 physician, but didn't do anything for the W divine physician. Taesan says he already did. Kyungwon, confused by it, unable to answer. Our boy explains that would not be able to do it, so Kyungwon says why he ordered him to do it for the others. Taesan says that he is tiring for him to use his own strength. Kyungwon bows down, not speaking a single word while you creeps out from his behavior. Taesan says that they are not just some ordinary physicians. The turd joins them and Kyungwon asks him if he is coming along. The blabbering retard says that it's his duty to take care of Taesan at all times. Bodyguard Yu asks him if he is okay for someone as sick as him to be visiting the courtesan house every day, not only that he is busy throughout the night. Hearing all this, the turd is at a loss of word, unable to comprehend what he just heard. He asks Taesan to lend him his hand so he can check the condition of his body. Our body with a dissatisfied look tells HM to be quick. With a creepy smile he holds his hand thinking that he will now be able to check the condition of his body. He gets shocked because this doesn't make any sense. According to his analysis, Taesan should not be alive, asking him if he really is a living person. Displeased by the nonsensical rambling of the so-called physician, Taesan's face darkened with irritation. His expression grim, he exuded an air of menace that left Kyungwon and bodyguard Yu stunned. They couldn't believe the audacity of this man to speak so flippantly to someone like Taesan. In a tone laced with deadly intent, Taesan asked if the physician found it impressive that he was still alive after examining his pulse. The man, now serious, stated that he had never encountered severed meridians as severe as Taesan's. Even his lesser meridians were severed, which, by all accounts, meant he should be dead. Taesan turned to Kyungwon and mockingly asked what should be done about someone essentially calling him a zombie. Kyungwon, ever the simpleton, suggested blowing up the physician's balls, leaving you embarrassed and speechless. The physician, now visibly panicked, stammered that he was merely pointing out the dire condition of Taesan's body, advising immediate treatment to prevent things from worsening. Taesan's gaze hardened further as he asked if the man would bet his life on his diagnosis. The physician, startled but defiant, declared that while he couldn't wager his life, it was his duty to treat him. Kyungwon and Yu exchanged knowing glances, finding the physician's bravado utterly shameless. With a nervous demeanor, the man insisted his findings were accurate, although he admitted it was baffling how Taesan was still alive. Taesan, exuding a chilling authority, told him that if he wasn't willing to stake his life, he should either follow him quietly or leave. Reluctantly, the physician agreed to follow, all the while wondering how Taesan managed to function with such a damaged body. As they walked, the physician, ever the chatterbox, inquired how Taesan had heard of him. When Taesan revealed he didn't know who the man was, the physician smirked and called him a joker, speculating aloud whether Taesan was affiliated with a cult and if the Golden Wall Merchant Guild was a branch of it. Kyungwon and Yu listened in stunned silence as the physician's incessant blabber continued. Finally, Taesan, his patience worn thin, released a wave of killing intent and demanded to know what cult the man was babbling about. The sheer bloodlust in Taesan's voice sent shivers down the physician's spine as he realized the gravity of his foolishness. Frightened, he quickly decided it was best to retreat, with Kyungwon and Yu keeping a close eye on him. The following morning, at the physician's residence, he sat at a cluttered desk, books strewn around him. He reflected on the previous night, recalling the frenzy of a certain woman and the events that followed. While the courtesans he encountered weren't as elegant as the women of the Golden Wall Merchant Guild, their pure physical forms intrigued him. What shocked him even more was that Taesan had seemingly spent the entire night with them. The physician concluded that Taesan must possess a technique capable of transforming the body into a state of pure physical form, likely spending hours using this mysterious method. Despite his curiosity, he decided to focus on making a good impression on Taesan to glean more information. A maid interrupted his thoughts, informing him that Taesan was looking for him. Nervously, the physician followed her, wondering what Taesan could want this time. Seated across from Taesan, he felt distinctly uncomfortable. Taesan, his expression sharp, acknowledged the physician's medical skills. Sweating profusely but trying to maintain a confident front, the physician boasted about his expertise, claiming there were likely only 5 people in the world more skilled than him. Taesan sighed, unimpressed, lamenting that he hadn't secured the best healer in the world. The physician elaborated, conceding that even his skills paled in comparison to legends like the Poison Demon, the Healing Immortal, and the Needle Eccentric. Yu chimed in, asking if the demonic cult had any notable physicians among their ranks. The physician's tone turned serious as he explained that the demonic cult had 2 exceptional physicians, though one had vanished. Their disappearance became even more pronounced after the demonic cult isolated themselves using an enchantment of isolation, effectively cutting them off from the world. You confirmed that this enchantment couldn't be undone without a specific key. Taesan, silently listening, recognized the enchantment as the mystical heaven enchantment, the pinnacle of the demonic cult's magical techniques. He knew its activation required the death of the cult leader, while its dissolution required the emergence of a new leader. In his previous life, Taesan had ensured the deaths of all potential candidates for cult leadership, making it nearly impossible for the enchantment to be broken. Reflecting on this, he concluded that unless a new leader somehow emerged, the enchantment would remain in place. Shifting the conversation, Taesan asked if the physician could reattach severed limbs. The man, with a sly grin, confidently claimed he could reattach almost anything. While movement might not be perfect if something had been torn out, cleanly severed limbs could be reattached flawlessly. Taesan pressed him for specifics, and the physician proudly stated that he could reattach limbs in most organs, boasting that he could save anyone as long as they hadn't died instantly. Hearing this, Taesan remained stoic, quietly assessing the physician's worth. Taesan turned to his guards with a cold, commanding gaze and declared himself satisfied, instructing the physician, nicknamed Turd, to oversee their training. Turd, confused, hesitated, pointing out that while he had studied martial arts, his expertise lay in medicine. Taesan, a psychotic smirk playing on his lips, dismissed his concerns with chilling nonchalance, stating that as long as death wasn't instantaneous, it didn't matter. Turning to Kyungwon and Yu, he told them not to worry about losing limbs but warned against letting their heads get severed. Both guards were left stunned, struggling to grasp his meaning. Taesan clarified that the fastest way to grow stronger was to engage in life-and-death combat, adding that fighting as though their lives depended on it would teach them more than anything else. Their expressions grew grim, but they didn't dare voice their objections. Taesan then ordered Turd to ensure they didn't die during training. Turd, with a crooked grin, assured them that as long as he was around, death was off the table. Kyungwon, still uneasy, asked Taesan if such intense training might affect his protection. Taesan dismissed the concern, informing them that he wouldn't be stepping outside for the next month and expected them to become strong enough to guard him by then. Taking the opportunity, Turd encouraged the two to fight without hesitation, promising to heal any injuries as long as they weren't fatal. With a sinister laugh, he reassured them that this method had proven results, secretly recalling that it was once a technique used by the distant heavenly demon sacred cult. A month later, in the training grounds, Kyungwon and Yu clashed ferociously. Kyungwon swung his sword with lethal intent, barely missing Yu but leaving a deep graze on her cheek. Yu retaliated without hesitation, her blade slicing through the air to leave a brutal wound on Kyungwon's lower chin, causing him to stagger in shock. Their duel was interrupted by slow clapping, drawing their attention to Turd, whose unnerving grin and psychotic demeanor sent shivers down their spines. He declared it was time to apply his infamous physical injury bomb. At the sight of the dreaded bomb, both combatants visibly paled. Kyungwon tried to make an excuse, claiming his wounds weren't severe enough to warrant treatment, but Turd, relentless and sadistic, insisted that you needed extra bomb, emphasizing its painful effects. Just as Turd was about to apply the mixture, Taesan entered the scene, his sudden presence catching everyone off guard. The guards, desperate, begged Taesan for mercy, revealing that the bomb was a form of torture. Turd, clearly nervous, questioned why Taesan was out so soon, reminding him that he had planned to remain secluded for a month. Taesan smirked, reminding Turd of his earlier declaration, and offered his hand for a pulse reading. Turd hesitated but eventually complied, his expression shifting to one of disbelief as he examined Taesan's restored meridians. Taesan laughed, revealing that he had spent the entire month strengthening the meridians he had hastily connected in the past. He explained that his soul energy, once wild and destructive, had become tightly bonded and incredibly resilient. Though difficult to control in its current state, he believed that continued restoration would eventually lead to the perfect physical body. Returning his attention to Turd, Taesan exposed his deceit, ordering him to stop intentionally making the physical injury bomb so agonizing and to change its composition immediately. Turd froze in fear as Kyungwon and Yu, their faces twisted with fury, glared at him. Kyungwon, his eyes burning with murderous intent, growled that they needed to have a serious discussion. Before leaving, Taesan informed Yu of his plans to visit the Yun Manor the next day. Surprised, Yu asked if he intended to stop the annulment of his engagement with the Yun family's young miss. Taesan dismissed her assumption, explaining that the Jonggu clan had sent him a message requesting a meeting. Taesan is reading something on a wooden scroll. He asks Turd if it contains all the information about the Zhengli clan. With a worried look, Turd tells our boy that his subordinates went through a lot to get the information because it's really difficult to obtain information on a reputable clan. Taesan, with a grim look, tells Turd that he looks too comfortable recently. With a disappointed look, he says that he had to take care of the 2 bodyguards and make the physical injury bomb. He was so busy that he needed at least 2 of him. Since Taesan is not normal, he says that he can split Turd into half so that he can have 2 of him. Turd, with a scared look, says that it is such a scary joke. Every time he does that, it reminds him of the past, which is scary. Taesan thinks to himself if he is talking about the time he was in the Heavenly Demon Sacred Cult. The Heavenly Demon Sacred Cult has always sent groups into various places to gather information. Each group would disguise themselves as people with various jobs like bodyguards, merchants, or physicians. Turd continues to sweat while Taesan thinks that he probably lived as a physician, so he wonders if he met the old him. Since Turd is a chatterbox, he tells Taesan that he showed a lot of interest in the Zhengli clan, so he guesses the daughter of the young manor is very beautiful. Taesan remains quiet, thinking to himself that she was very beautiful, to the point that she reminds him of certain someone from the past. Turd brings him back to reality, asking him if they should add bodyguards for his safety. Taesan sighs, telling him that he is just a scaredy cat. Turd gets angry because he called him a scaredy cat, but Taesan tells him that the Zhengli clan is going to be a piece of cake to deal with. When he was the heavenly demon and the reputable clan seemed to be losing in the war against the sacred cult, only the Zhengli clan ran away. Taesan tried going after them to crush them all, but they were already gone by then. He heard that they never went outside for a while after barely avoiding annihilation. Taesan, who has gone crazy thinking about how mighty they'll act after doing all that, has Turd trying to sneak away. Moving to the Yun Manor, Taesan meets Heron's father. He is shocked because it feels like his body has gotten much better, thanking Turd for these amazing results. Taesan tells him that he still has a long way to go before he fully recovers, but he'll get there eventually. The man laughs, telling our boy that it has been a long while since they met, but Taesan feels like a different person. However, things have gotten complicated because it seems like the Zhengli clan is determined to see things through. They refuse to acknowledge his engagement to Heron. The old man thinks that they are planning to drag you into their schemes, through methods such as humiliating you in front of Heron. Their ultimate goal would probably be to pick a fight with him and the Golden Wall Merchant Guild. Taesan says that he will try to resolve it. He thinks to himself that what they are doing resembles the Zhengli clan using our boy as an excuse to blow things out of proportion, then taking over both the Golden Wall Merchant Guild and the Yun Manor together. As our Chad minions come face to face with one of the chapter guards of the Zhengli clan, Taesan opens the door and is about to exit when a tall Turd enters the scene, asking if he is Taesan. Our Chad, looking at him, instantly figures out that this Turd is going after his fiancée. This femboy says that he heard our Chad cannot perform in bed, but Taesan doesn't reply. He thinks that the man might be deaf as well. Since Taesan still doesn't answer, Turd assumes he must be taught some manners. The Turd's guard gets ready to engage in a battle, while Senior Turd takes his leave, making an excuse. The tall monkey tells our Chad to have a talk personally and adds that he knows a place that is nice and quiet for private conversation. Taesan, trying to hold back his smirk, says that it should just be the 2 of them with no one following. Kyungwon tells Taesan that he cannot kill him. Hearing this, Turd thinks our bodyguard is arrogant, as he assumes his warrior will deal with him in no time. Taesan thinks it's a great idea since his guard has just completed his training. Turd orders his guards to handle the situation, saying our Chad will be going with him. Just like their trash master, his minions tell our guards that their master ordered them to spar, so they don't intend to go easy. As these ugly rats unsheath their swords, they plan to overwhelm Kyungwon and Yu. Senior Todd watching from the sides thinks this is an interesting turn of events, since they seem to be the elites of the Zhengli clan. He smirks thinking that facing them will be fun to see the fruits of their training. Since he hates fighting, he decides to take his leave. Moving to a secluded place with beautiful scenery, the Turd wearing a skirt brags to Taesan how this is a beautiful place. Our Chad smirks telling him that he put in a lot of effort, since arrived not too long ago, yet he already fallen such a place. With a smirk this weak Turd says that it's natural. since he has been waiting for this moment ever since he got here. Ugly Turd tell our psychopath that he is quite good at pain on others. Taesan smirks, telling him that he looks forward to it. Before that, Taesan wants to know what he actually wants, since he is not doing all this because you really want to marry Haran. Weak Turd says that she is very pretty, but that doesn't mean he find her suitable. My partner, Blood, forgot to see his face. His ambitions are too grand for a mere young manner. Meanwhile, Turd launches a sneak attack on our Chad but realizes he has struck a tree and cannot spot Taesan. From behind, a hand grabs Turd's shoulder, and Taesan coldly asks him to show him how grand his ambitions are. Turd is scared because he thought our Chad had severed meridians, but now he believes it's just a fluke. Taesan begins absorbing his life energy, and Turd screams so loudly that the entire manor becomes aware of the situation. Kyungwon fears that Taesan might kill him, but like his idiotic master, Turd's toad-like smirk indicates he believes our Chad is in pain. Yu, infuriated, yells at the guards to stop acting cocky and attack her all at once. Thinking they can overpower her, they charge forward, but Kyungwon swiftly dodges and counters, knocking one out instantly with a powerful kick. A scream diverts their attention, and Yu calls them to come after her as well. Both Kyungwon and Yu are determined not to let their Chad down and show him the fruits of their rigorous training. Meanwhile, Taesan, still draining Turd's energy, mockingly asks him where his confidence has gone. With a menacing look, he tells Turd that he will only extract half of his energy since he has decided not to kill him. By the end, Turd is left a quivering wreck, resembling a rotten cucumber. This part starts at the Yun Manor. With intent in her eyes, Yu destroys one of her enemies. In a matter of seconds she destroys all her enemies, and sheathes her sword, all while Kyungwon stands in awe. She tells Kyungwon that she was doubtful at first but finds it hard to believe that she pulled it off. Our boy tells her that he has complete trust in Taesan. She fills him honestly that she never expected that they could defeat warriors from the Zongdi clan. She wonders who really our boy Taesan is. Kyungwon tells her that he is not sure about it. But he is certain about one thing, that if it were not for Taesan they would be the ones lying on the ground. In the past our boy told them about the Zhengli clan's weakness before they came to the Yun Manor. It was as if our boy predicted everything. At first he had his doubts, but while fighting them he realized that he could predict all their moves. Thanks to information our boy gave them beforehand. While he is busy glazing our Chad, Yu thinks that he has gone senile. We now move on to Turd. He was strolling when he turns around to see Taesan accompanied by Junior Turd. Turd greets our boy, and Taesan asks him what he is doing here. Turd tells our boy that he stood down because he was of no use there. Taesan says he misunderstood what he said. Our chat meant that why they are still not done with dealing with those trash. Turd tells Taesan that they are reputed warriors of the Zhengli clan. Taesan with a serious tone tells Turd that they still lack training. He orders him to double the intensity of their training. Before Turd could finish, our Chad gets past him and tells him that he cannot stand that his people are weak. Turd thinks something for a second, then he smiles and moves on to greeting our Chad. Later at that day, on the dining table of the Yun Manor, Taesan is sitting next to Haran and all she does is steal glances at our boy, but she gets irritated after seeing Junior Turd sitting across her. Seeing her angry look, her father looks at him and gets shocked to see that this Turd is not in a good condition. With a tense look, he says that earlier today he had a solo meeting with our Chad, wondering if everything went well. Hearing that our Chad met with him, Haran gets nervous, asking our Chad if he is really alright. Taesan with a serious look asks her why he would not be alright. Taesan tells her that they had an interesting conversation. In other words, he said that it involved their souls. Taesan asks the Junior Turd if he agrees. With a robotic stature he agrees to our boy, but Taesan gets angry. Seeing the angry look on Taesan's face, Junior Turd gets scared as Taesan releases his aura, telling Junior Ford that it is basic manner to maintain eye contact when someone is talking. Hearing this he starts shivering. He tries to eye contact with our boy, only to see demonic eyes radiating killing intent. It was so overbearing that he dirted his pants. His whole body was shivering as they realized that Turd shat all over his pants and the entire room begins to smell. Yu takes Haran and they suggest he leaves this area. Taesan sits at the table as the workers rush into the room. Taesan enjoys his drink and laughs seeing the drama happening. We now move on to some other place where someone is very angry. He is the patriarch of the Zhangli clan, and he is furious because of his son. A guard tells him that he will get his people to conduct an investigation for now. He elaborates that the guards were much stronger than he had thought. But the leader thinks it is dumb because 11 of their warriors got beaten up one-sided. The chief administrator tells him that they are investigating to check if the young manor had helped them. He asks him how his son is doing. The guard tells him that he is stuck in his room and he is not coming out all. But there is more to it. There is something wrong with his martial arts, but they cannot figure out the reason. The man sighs, telling the guard that he not only wet his pants but became a total idiot too. He thinks to himself that there's no way all of this happened because of someone like him who's on the verge of dying. There is something strange about all this. He tells the guard that he is certain there's someone else involved in this. He says that he wants him to find out who that is at all cost. The guard obeys his commands and leaves. This frog tells himself that this clan almost got destroyed by the heavenly demon because of his father. He finally brought the clan back, so he can't believe they have suffered such humiliation. With anger in his face, he says that he won't let this go, so he will make sure to trample hard on anyone who dares to mess with the Zhangli clan. Even if they are the heavenly demon this day dreaming at its peak. Moving back to the Yun Manor. Multiple minions enter the residence as our junior Chad stands by. He rushes back to his residency to inform our Chad. Taesan asks if they came to get back revenge. He is not sure about it, but there are a few pretty skilled martial masters among them. Taesan with smirk asks him how he knows there are masters among them. Junior Chad tells him that, since he intentionally exposed his presence. Taesan laughs, telling his guard that there are always people like that, guys who just can't wait and will only learn to play nice after they get beaten up. Taesan tells Kyungwon to accompany him. He asks our Chad if they are going to the newly arrived warriors. Taesan says that he doesn't care since they need to be somewhere else. Kyungwon says that the matter within the Yun Manor is not over yet. Taesan says they'll be very busy because of the turd that shat his pants, so B wants him to follow our boy. Although he is doubtful, he cannot disagree, as Taesan says that things are finally getting a little interesting. Our Chad and his guard are standing in front of the Blood Axe sect. Taesan is amazed because they are bigger than he had thought. Kyungwon asks Taesan that if he is going to make use of the Blood Axe sect. Taesan, laughing like a psycho, compliments Kyungwon that he is not completely stupid. He elaborates that although the Blood Axe sect is the strongest unorthodox faction in Donghu, they are giving money to the Zhangli clan behind the scenes, so he unsure if they will do what he wants. Taesan with a dissatisfied look tells him that he can assure that they hate paying tribute to the Zhangli clan. What he means is that they aren't sticking with the Zhangli clan by choice. Looking at their flags, Kyungwon sighs and tells him that it's probably because they are not strong enough, which is normal in Murim. Taesan with a calm and collective look tells him that it's not because they are not strong enough but because they are weak to the core. So they are paying tributes as they know struggling is meaningless. With a straight face, he asks Kyungwon if he knows what happens to such people. Kyungwon is unaware of what to say. Our Chad tells him that they will all lose their will to do things. Hearing this word, Kyungwon faces becomes grim, full of fear, regret, and the want for revenge. In a flashback, we see an entire fortress engulfed in flames. We see a man telling his attendant to take a younger Kyungwon from here, telling him to get as far from here as possible. The image gets shorter as he has little to no memory about what happened. His father told him that at the very least Kyungwon should survive. Seeing his father leave, he shouts, which alerts the intruder. In an instant, the Thunder Blood Phoenix got behind him. He asks him when he came all the way here. He begs him, telling him that his family is innocent, so he should just spare the child. Holding his feet, his whole body shakes, begging him just to spare his child. This fake strong turd tells him that one day he will probably come looking for him to avenge his father, and when that time comes it will be hard to accept his request. In a subsequent second, with a single strike, he decapitates his head, killing him without any hesitation. As his lifeless body lies on the ground, the memory starts to fade away as memories of being too weak floods his mind. There is no meaning to life as he thinks that being too weak is more of a sin. Moving to the present, he grips his hand, telling him that being weak is a sin. So what are those weak supposed to do then? Taesan laughs, then proceeds to open the door, telling him that he will give them strength. The people inside shouts, alerting everyone that here are intruders. Meanwhile, Kyungwon is shocked by the words of our Chad. After a short battle all of them get beaten to a pulp, instantly submitting to Chad. As Taesan approaches them they get scared, the leader starts begging asking Taesan to spare their lives. He says that they have committed grave mistakes although they are not aware of what it was. Taesan continues to observe them as they continue their act, telling him that they will do everything he says. With a sinister smile he tells them that he will be teaching these guys something interesting, and see just how useful they can be. In return he will kill them if they dare to pay tributes to the Zhengli clan starting from today. The man starts crying, telling him that if they don't pay tributes they are dead anyway. A few days later of the Zhengli clan, there is a huge ruckus because the Blood Axe sect refused to pay them tribute. The informer agrees with him, telling him that it is the first time they have done such a thing. The furious turd asks him if those who went collecting just quietly accepted it. He tells him that there is something that didn't look quite right, and assumes that they are somehow confident. The leader says that they might have hired some half-baked martial master. The guard tells him that it seems serious, so he was wondering if they could send the warrior corps there to deal with them. The man is dissatisfied because this is happening when they are tight on funds. He orders him to make sure that the Blood Axe sect knows who their master is. Then he asks if where Sungrak and the warrior corps are right now. He tells him that they are cleaning after the third young master in the training grounds, so he will send order to them right away. The turd cannot believe that they have got someone in the clan who shat his pants. At times like this they must not look weak, instead they should crush them completely. That way they will never dare to try and climb over their heads again. Moving on to Taesan, he walks as Kyungwon follows him closely. He asks our Chad that while they have proceeded for now, he is doubtful that everything will be alright. Taesan tells him to elaborate, and he says that if they go around stopping people from paying tributes the Zhengli clan is sure to retaliate. Additionally, it might get worse if they openly talk about their weakness. Taesan tells him to stop nagging him. With a wicked smile he tells him that all their financial inflows are blocked so they won't have time to care about them, since they are probably faltering right now. Kyungwon is worries, telling our boy that no matter what they are still a reputable clan. If their warriors corps come and attack, it would be hard for the unorthodox factions to be able to handle them. Taesan tells him that's why they are going to meet some people who can handle them. Kyungwon remains silent as Taesan enters the Donghu bodyguard agency. Kyungwon, dumbfounded, realizes that they are visiting a bodyguard agency, thinking what it is that our Chad is trying to do. As Taesan reaches the entrance of the agency, the guard asks him what his purpose of visit is. Taesan asks him that he is here to meet the owner. The man tells our boy that he is not someone that just anyone can meet. Taesan, with a pissed look, he asks him if he looks like a nobody. Scared by his reaction, he is stunned. Before he could say anything else, Taesan enters, telling him to lead the way. Kyungwon apologizes for Taesan's rude behavior and then proceeds to follow him. Seeing their weird behavior, he is confused what to do. They reach the main hall and stop. The man asks Taesan to wait while he asks the owner. He asks who the one requesting to meet the owner is. Taesan tells him to wait since he hasn't remembered everything yet. Waiting for our Chadher gets frustrated, telling him that if he doesn't answer he cannot continue. Taesan says that he remembers it finally, ordering him to tell the owner that he has something that he wants to send to the mystical moon. The man is confused, not knowing what to do. As they continue to wait, Kyungwon was about to ask what the mystical moon is. The owner barges into the room, tension visible in his eyes. He gets on his knees, telling him that he is the owner of the agency and pays respect to him, inviting him to come in quickly. Taesan laughs and then follows the man, as Kyungwon wonders just what is happening. Inside the private chamber, our Chad is having tea while getting information from him. He asks the leader how much manpower he can mobilize right now. The leader elaborates that he has 6 head bodyguards and 60 bodyguards. Hearing this, Taesan laughs, telling him to ask them all to get ready. Since he wants him to gather the head bodyguards in a separate location though, as he needs to talk to them. The old man, without any reaction, obeys his commands. Later that day, our Chad gives them multiple orders, and we move on to Kyungwon. He thinks to himself what Taesan is trying to do with them. While they are pretty skilled for mere bodyguards, they are still too weak to take on the Zhengli clan. Taesan tells them that they have familiarized themselves with the weaknesses he told them. Now they will help the unorthodox sect to fight against the Zhengli clan. They follow his commands, Then we move on to Kyungwon. Our Chad tells him that they will be moving together with them. Kyungwon asks him if they are going to the unorthodox groups. Taesan agrees with them, but the guards will be the ones fighting. Kyungwon tells our Chad that they are up against the Zhengli clan, so it would be best that he helps when things look bad. Hearing this, Taesan sighs, seeing how simple of a person Kyungwon is. Taesan asks him if he fights against the agency owner, what are the chances he can win? Kyungwon tells him that he will only know after he fights him, but he thinks that they should be around the same level. Our Chad asks him what he thinks about the head bodyguards. Kyungwon confidently tells him that he is more skilled than them, but our Chad breaks his bubble, telling him that he is wrong. Hearing this, Kyungwon doubts himself and our Chad, because from what he can see, he is stronger than them. Taesan tells him that there is still a long way from being able to fight against the head bodyguards. The agency owner is also far stronger than him. He tells Kyungwon that there are more things to consider than what he sees. Hearing this, Kyungwon remains quiet, unable to answer. Taesan laughs, thinking to himself that the reason they are stronger than Kyungwon is because they are members of the Heavenly Demon Sacred Cult. He was able to figure out some of the locations of the cult members that were dispersed with the Dubhe physician's investigations. He happened to discover that there are cult members who disguise themselves as bodyguards here. It doesn't make a difference since they still don't know who he is. Now that they have heard the mystical moon being mentioned, the only thing they can do is commit to absolute submission. Taesan tells him that they are really good at hiding their strength. Our Chad thinks that if they are working as a bodyguard agency, then they can't appear too strong. Kyungwon asks him from when onwards did he make a connection with a bodyguard agency, which is very surprising. Taesan tells him that there are things children should not know about. Kyungwon agrees but thinks to himself that he is much older than him, though. Taesan tells him that it's time for him to train himself in a real fight. Kyungwon asks him that he just said they would not be fighting. Taesan tells him to stay out, saying that they will be taking on their leader. Moving to the Blood Axe sect, the Zhengli clan leader is present with his minions. The Blood Axe leader tells him that whatever the case, they will not be dealing with the Zhengli clan anymore. The leader asks him if unless they have gone crazy, asking him if he really thinks that he can defeat them. The Blood Axe leader tells him that no one here is crazy, in fact, they are trying to keep their sanity. The old turd asks him if he is alright. The Blood Axe leader screams, telling him that they would rather shit their pants than get beaten up by him. Hearing this, the old turd thinks to himself that the ones who beat him up are the ones behind this. All of a sudden, he notices a fluctuation of energy. The problem is that it is no ordinary energy. He wonders if this is coming from the outside. He tells his subordinates, his minions, that he will leave this place to his ants. Furthermore, he tells them to keep the leader alive since he has questions to ask him. As they continue their operation, the old man tells him that something is wrong. He has fought numerous battles, but he has never felt anything like this before. Going outside, he feels that all the senses in his body are screaming, and they are telling him that he is in danger right now. Standing on top of a branch, our Chad tells him that he has got pretty sharp senses. Jumping down from the branch, he tells him that he looks strong. He guesses that even though his clan has gotten weaker, an elder still holds certain standards. He calls our Chad by his name, asking him if he is the one behind all this. Taesan, with a cold look, asks him why he wants to know this, since he won't be able to remember it soon anyway. The old turd tells our Chad that he is quite impudent for a whelp. This arrogant turd tells him that he will probably start talking after our Chad gets a limb or two cut off. Kyungwon intervenes, telling him that he won't be having any chance to even face our Chad. The old hag questions, wondering if the energy he sensed just now came from Kyungwon, but he doesn't appear that strong. Yet he refuses to believe that there's no way it could have come from Taesan. He will know very shortly, as both of them are ready to face off against each other. Taesan asks him if he is stronger than he thinks, questioning how long he will last. Kyungwon tells him that his body is numb from his energy. He wasn't expecting an elder of a reputable clan to be this strong, yet he will try his best. Taesan is impressed, telling Kyungwon that the best way to improve is to fight against someone stronger than him. That hag thinks they talk too much since they will die anyway. As he rushes, trying to finish him off, Promising that he will finish this in an instant, he gets shocked when he sees Kyungwon blocking his attack. Kyungwon makes distance, and seeing this, the hag is impressed, telling him if he can block the next attack too. As they continue to fight each other, Kyungwon can clearly see his attacks. The old man gets pissed, telling him that he is nothing but a mere bodyguard. The hag lands multiple strong strikes that Kyungwon blocks, but he realizes that because of the strong impact, his sword starts to crack. Kyungwon thinks that he might die every time he takes one of his attacks. The old man is impressed, telling him to take another one of his attacks. He blasts a strong energy blast on Kyungwon, severely injuring him. The hag is shocked that Kyungwon managed to hold his ground and not give up. No matter how strong he is, Kyungwon is able to see all his attacks. Taesan laughs, telling Kyungwon that putting him through harsh training was worth it. The old man fixes his stance, thinking to himself if there is anyone within the clan that can block his attacks like this. The old man tells Kyungwon that he will acknowledge it, that Kyungwon's skills are a waste for him to be working for a mere merchant guild. He gives him an offer to join the Zhengli clan, staring at our boy and telling Kyungwon that he will teach him martial arts personally. He tells him that he is too talented to be cleaning the mess of a brat. Hearing this, Kyungwon laughs, asking him who said that he is cleaning after him. Hearing this statement, the hag cannot believe him. Kyungwon tells him that his sword techniques can't even compare to our Chad. Charging toward the old man with the intent to kill, but surprisingly, the attack fails and his sword breaks in half. The chapter opens amid a violent clash between Kyungwon and an elderly master from the enemy faction. The old man suddenly launches a lethal strike aimed directly at Kyungwon's head. Kyungwon narrowly avoids death at the last possible moment. The blade misses its intended target and instead slashes across his shoulder. Blood spills instantly as Kyungwon staggers backward and collapses to one knee, clutching the wound. He coughs violently, blood staining his lips as his breathing turns ragged. Standing over him, the old man realizes that his strike was meant to kill. The fact that Kyungwon evaded it is not luck. Despite his injuries, the young warrior had read the attack and moved in time. The elder acknowledges, if only internally, that Kyungwon's skill is genuine. As the duel reaches its critical breaking point, Kyungwon is left kneeling on the ground, clutching his severed and bleeding arm, completely unable to continue the fight. The elderly master, having delivered the devastating blow, looms over him and coldly notes that Kyungwon may never be able to use that arm again. Just as the situation turns fatal, Taesan steps in decisively to halt the execution. He commands the violence to cease immediately, declaring that it is enough. Looking down at his injured subordinate, Taesan tells Kyungwon to give up, acknowledging that the young warrior has reached his limit. Despite the loss, Taesan offers a rare compliment, telling him that he was not half bad. The elderly enemy is incredulous. He recognizes Taesan as a cripple with severed meridians and cannot believe that such a man would dare to step forward. He mocks Taesan, questioning whether he intends to clash swords. Taesan remains completely calm and refuses to draw his weapon. He arrogantly declares that he does not need to use a sword to fight someone of the old man's level. Enraged by the dismissal, the elder charges forward with a full-force sword strike. True to his word, Taesan keeps his blade sheathed. As the enemy's sword descends, Taesan dodges with imperceptible speed. Instead of steel, he gathers a massive concentration of purple internal energy into his hand. With a single devastating blow, delivered without ever drawing his sword, he blasts the old man away, ending the fight instantly. His attack collapses, his body thrown aside as the battle ends in a single exchange. From the ground, Kyungwon watches in silence. He is transfixed not merely by Taesan's victory, but by the flawless elegance of his movement. In that moment, Kyungwon makes a silent vow to reach that level of mastery someday. Later that night at the Yun clan manor, the group tends to their wounds. The dubby physician treats Kyungwon's shattered arm. He scolds the young warrior, warning him that without his medical intervention, the arm would have been lost forever. The physician then launches into a lecture about gratitude, cynically noting that humans are animals who often forget the kindness shown to them, though he eventually expresses relief that Kyungwon is safe. Taesan confirms that the Donghu bodyguard agency has cleaned up the rest of the enemy forces. He deduces that the Zhengli clan must have a powerful backer to dare such an attack and decides they must visit a specific location tonight to uncover the truth. The narrative shifts to the headquarters of the Zhengli clan. Patriarch Zhengli Qion is in the middle of a meeting when a woman from the White Flower courtesan house arrives unexpectedly. She delivers devastating news. One of the clan's elders, the old man from the duel, was killed the previous night by the son of a merchant guild. The patriarch is both enraged and shaken. He cannot understand how someone of such origin could be surrounded by warriors capable of killing one of his elders so decisively. The woman reassures him coolly. She states that the White Flower courtesan house will deal with Byeok Taesan personally. Though Zhengli Qion hesitates, she insists that his clan should focus solely on providing manpower. She then reveals their strategy. A rumor has already been spread that the White Flower courtesan house is connected to the Golden Heavenly Alliance. Confident and composed, she declares that this bait will inevitably draw Taesan to their establishment, where, she claims, escape will be impossible. The chapter opens the following morning. Kangwon, still clearly injured, insists on accompanying Taesan. His voice is loud and fervent, his posture stiff with determination as he declares that he can handle the mission without issue. Taesan, visibly exhausted, rubs his temples in irritation. He tells Kangwon bluntly that if he intends to behave like this, then he should not follow them at all. Before the tension escalates further, the divine physician, an elderly man with white hair and a perpetually amused expression, interjects. With a mischievous smile, he suggests that leaving Kangwon behind might be the safest option. Someone with such excessive enthusiasm, he jokes, would blow their cover before a fight even began. Then, as if struck by inspiration, the physician proposes another solution: poison. Kangwon immediately panics, his face paling as he demands to know whether they are trying to kill him. The physician waves the concern away and calmly explains that it is a specially prepared poison designed to relax the body and numb the facial muscles. However, he adds ominously that there is a very, very small side effect. Taesan, clearly uninterested in the details, warns Kangwon that they will leave immediately if he continues to waste time. Faced with the prospect of being abandoned, Kangwon hurriedly agrees. The physician produces a thin needle made entirely of hardened poison. He explains casually that the needle will melt once inside the body. Before Kangwon can fully process this information, the needle is plunged into his neck. Kangwon screams. The effect is immediate. His muscles slacken, his eyes lose focus, and saliva drips from the corner of his mouth. His intense presence vanishes completely, replaced by a vacant, foolish expression. The side effect has turned him into an empty-headed fool, perfect for masking his dangerous zeal. Later that night, the group arrives at their destination, the White Flower courtesan house. Yu is immediately confused and questions why Taesan would choose to visit a brothel. Taesan corrects her, explaining that the establishment is not ordinary at all. It is a front created by the Golden Heavenly Alliance. Taesan elaborates on his reasoning. The Golden Heavenly Alliance had remained quiet for some time, but recently they began aggressively expanding their businesses near the Golden Wall Merchant Guild. He points out that the employees of this place are not normal staff, but skilled warriors, which is highly unusual for a standard merchant operation. On top of that, rumors had already begun circulating that linked this establishment directly to the Alliance. Dubihi notes that the entire setup feels deliberate, as if someone is intentionally trying to lure a target inside. Yu voices her concern, warning that walking into such an obvious trap puts Taesan, whom they address as Master Byeok, in unnecessary danger. Taesan, however, remains completely undeterred. The group enters the establishment and is greeted by a woman accompanied by guards. She welcomes Taesan warmly, addressing him by the title Night King of Wuhan, and remarks that they have been waiting for him. She offers to prepare a separate room for Taesan's company. Taesan instead signals for his companions to wait nearby rather than accompany him inside. As they split up, Dubihi forcefully grabs Kangwon and drags him along toward their designated waiting area. While Kangwon, Yu, and Dubihi wait separately, the side effect of the poison Kangwon was given begins to surface. A woman from the courtesan house notices that Kangwon looks unwell and asks if he is all right. Kangwon tries to dismiss her concern, but as the poison's effect wanes, his facial muscles begin twitching uncontrollably, making his appearance strange and unsettling. He loudly insists that he is completely normal, but his erratic behavior only confirms the enemy's suspicions. The woman immediately drops her friendly facade, realizing that the group is already aware of the trap. She signals her men, and a powerful warrior steps forward. One Mengwang, the chief administrator of the Zhengli clan. One Mengwang reveals that the staff of the courtesan house are actually warriors of the Zhengli clan and admits that they are working alongside the Golden Heavenly Alliance. Realizing that Taesan's group uncovered their scheme far faster than expected, he orders his warriors to kill them. Instead of fear, Kangwon feels relief. He shouts that he had been struggling to hold back his aggression and welcomes the confrontation. Kangwon and Yu draw their weapons and charge forward, engaging the Zhengli clan warriors with speed and overwhelming force. Meanwhile, inside a private room, Taesan sits calmly across from the woman who welcomed him earlier. He casually remarks that it sounds noisy outside, clearly aware that a battle has broken out. The woman initially pretends not to notice, claiming she hears nothing at all. Then she abandons the act. Revealing her true intentions, she tells him that today is the day they will eliminate the naive Master Byeok. She mocks him, adding that it is a pity to lose someone so handsome. Taesan remains completely composed. He rises to his feet, his presence darkening the room, and asks her if he truly looks like prey that has already been caught. He makes it clear that he did not come here without fully understanding what was happening, effortlessly overturning her attempt at intimidation. The chapter opens in the heat of a desperate ambush where Yu and Kangwon stand back to back amidst a swirling cloud of dust and killing intent, forming a solid two-person fortress against a tide of assassins. Yu lunges forward with a silent, deadly strike while Kangwon pivots to cover her flank, their styles complementing perfectly as Yu locks eyes with her nearest opponent and her blade traces a lethal arc. A sharp whoosh cuts the air as Yu deflects an incoming blade with a fluid parry, twisting mid-air to evade a second strike while Kangwon steps in to fill the gap, his weapon blurring as he parries a thrust meant for her. Frustrated by this impregnable duo, an enemy soldier loses his composure and lunges at Kangwon, screaming a desperate command to die, but the attack is futile. Kangwon shifts his weight to allow Yu to slide past him with the fluidity of water, sidestepping the heavy blow so fast it leaves an afterimage, causing the enemy to stumble into the open gap between them. As the fight drags on, heavy breathing fills the silence and the enemies tire while realizing the warriors will not break. In a brief lull, Yu catches Kangwon's eye and he gives a sharp nod, verbally confirming with a steady okay before they press the advantage together, moving as a single unit to push the panting, crumbling assassins back. Watching from a distance, the enemy commander grinds his teeth at his useless idiots and decides to intervene personally, but his eyes widen as he spots a dagger flying towards him from an impossible distance. They are heavy with killing intent as Yu and her partner Kangwon stand ready against an elderly adversary whose stillness belies a lethal power. The silence shatters as the old man screams a command to die, launching himself forward with a blurring speed that forces Yu to twist evasively and stumble, prompting Kangwon to step in as a shield while the elder weaves around their defenses with unnerving ease. Despite their synchronized pincer attacks and desperate exertion, the partners find themselves outmatched, gasping for breath while the old man remains unperturbed, mocking their efforts as useless before deciding to end the game with a throwing dagger that he wields with terrifying proficiency even from a distance. Just as the elder prepares a final killing blow, sensing an incoming surge of energy, the wall explodes inward to reveal Byeok Taesan, who emerges from the debris with an overwhelming presence that instantly stifles the enemy's aura. Taesan dismisses the old man's suspicion about his health with arrogance, then proceeds to dismantle the elder with a brutal display of superior martial cultivation, shattering the man's defenses and dignity with a series of punishing strikes until he is left broken and groveling. After casually tossing the defeated master aside, Taesan greets the disheveled divine physician, and the group ascends the stairs past unconscious bodies to the top floor, where they confront a calm, high-ranking official who readily offers cooperation to preserve his life. When Taesan demands the identity of the true mastermind behind the Golden Heavenly Alliance, the official reveals the name Bong Muoke, the Black Lunar Swordsman, causing Kangwon to stammer in horror as he explains that this legendary figure, supposedly one of the top 100 martial masters, is historically known to be dead. Kangwon questions the impossibility of the claim, but the terrified official insists on the truth, swearing upon his soul under Taesan's piercing purple gaze that the man is indeed Bong Muoke. Accepting the man's conviction, Taesan commands him to take charge of the establishment and dig out information on the alliance, ignoring the official's weak protests before abruptly turning his attention to Yu to dismantle her disguise. He exposes her as a member of the Hao faction, citing her specific movement traits as evidence, and when she feigns ignorance, he prepares to leave, casually remarking that she has run out of luck if she chooses to flee. As the divine physician questions their sudden departure, Taesan drops a bombshell by revealing he knows the location of the Shadow Stride Manual, a lost martial art of the Hao faction, which shocks you into freezing in her tracks. Realizing he holds the key to her clan's lost heritage, Yu abandons her pretense and kneels, pledging her loyalty and vowing not to disappoint him as he walks away into the snowy night. The narrative shifts to a dimly lit room elsewhere, where a bearded subordinate reports to a white-haired figure that the situation in Wuhan has deteriorated, with both the Zhengli clan and the White Flower courtesan house having been defeated overnight by an unknown group. The white-haired heir's silence is broken by the entrance of a massive, muscular man who mocks his brother's failure to control the situation, warning that Wuhan is the foundation of a plan centuries in the making. As the scene fades to ominous darkness, the muscular figure declares that no mistakes will be allowed, for very soon, their group, the Unknowns, will finally appear in the world. This concludes the video. Make sure to like and subscribe for another part.